Chapter 498. Yanjing's young master Qin Shaoxiong. Oh my God, is he the devil of House Qin? A rich beauty who knew about the forces in Yanjing covered her mouth with fear in her eyes. That's him. Chen Chunlong nodded. Who knows, today might be the day House Jiang falls. Yeah, House Jiang of Jinling has been strong for 2 to 3 years, and now they've finally met their match. Many young masters and socialites were excited. The rise of any new force would be ostracized by the old forces, not to mention House Jiang's strong and glorious rise. It could be said that House Jiang had Jiang Tian, a master who could easily kill people, and that was too scary. Many families in Jinling were in danger, and they all hoped that House Jiang would fall sooner. In the crowd, Mu Yunqing was more and more shocked. Was Jiang Tian a match for Su Shiji and Qin Shaoxiong? This was a top martial arts family from Yanjing. No matter how capable Jiang Tian was, he was just a small fry in Jinling. Jiang Tian didn't care about these discussions. Let's go. Seeing the bodyguards in black moving away after Su Ruoqing cut off Zhao Jinlong's arm, he slowly walked towards the hearse. At this moment, an arrogant voice sounded. A mere battle dragon's martial arts consultant dares to hit my people? Are you tired of living? Jiang Tian frowned slightly and turned back to see Mu Yunqing pulling Meng Yao, who was wearing a wedding dress, anxiously trying to persuade her. A young man in a suit with makeup on his face walked over arrogantly with both hands in his pockets. He had a disdainful smile on his face, but his eyes were extremely dark. Tang Bao, whose face was still red, looked at Jiang Tian with a gloating expression, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Before Jiang Tian could say anything, Meng Yao broke free from Mu Yunqing's pull and walked over quickly. Her eyes were red as she waved her hands and said angrily, Jiang Tian, just because I abandoned you in university, you're going against me again and again? You took care of the Xia family, you scared Du Mingtao half to death, and now? Are you jealous of me because I married well, and my husband is richer and more capable than you? Do you have to make things difficult for us on my wedding day? Huh? What? Am I jealous of your husband? Jiang Tian was dumbfounded, but he couldn't be bothered to argue with him. Forget it. Since it's your wedding day, let's both take a step back and let this matter rest. Let's go our separate ways. With that, Jiang Tian turned around and walked towards the hearse. Don't go. My husband is Su Shiji. His father, Su Tianyun, is the richest man in Huaxia real estate, and also the richest man on the Forbes list. But Jiang Tian's retreat was seen as a sign of fear in Meng Yao's eyes. She couldn't hold back against her husband, and her sharp tongue shot out again. Do you think you can affect my mood with these little tricks? Despicable, shameless person. Ever since she realized how powerful Jiang Tian was, Meng Yao was very unhappy. Shock, regret, dejection, depression. All kinds of negative emotions completely enveloped her like a dark cloud. Her life was completely dark, without a trace of sunlight. Maybe it was because she had been suppressing it for too long, but now that she had let it all out, she actually felt a little happy and carefree. She looked at Jiang Tian's back with disdain and mockery, curling her lips. I won't argue with you. Just like how I won't argue with an ant's bite. Because even if you struggle your whole life, you still can't compare to my husband. He can crush your Jiang family with a single finger. She had the confidence to say this. House Su wasn't just a simple real estate family, but the white glove of House Qin in Yanjing. House Qin in Yanjing, on the other hand, was a real martial arts family with a high status. She once saw Qin Shaoxiong reprimand a governor in a private gathering, and the governor didn't even dare to refute, even giving a weak explanation. She also heard that the head of House Qin, Qin Zhong, came out and reprimanded Qin Shaoxiong with a few fake words. It was obvious that he didn't really put this governor in his eyes. So what if Jiang Tian knew martial arts? So what if he was Zhan Long's martial arts consultant? So what if he was Master Kong? Could he be compared to a governor? Could he be compared to House Qin? The difference between them and House Su was too big. Master Kong, is it? I've heard of your name, and I heard that you're doing quite well in Lingnan Su province. Su Shiji strolled over and put his arm around his new wife's shoulder. He sneered with disdain. Tang Xiaozi, by Chofei, those good-for-nothings are following you, but you better apologize to me and my wife immediately. Do you know who I am? You want me to apologize to you? Jiang Tian, who turned a deaf ear to Mingyao's outburst, finally stopped and turned around, looking at Su Shiji with interest. Su Shiji didn't say anything. Mu Yunqin quickly came over to smooth things over. Jiang Tian, this is the young master of House Su in Yanjing, Su Shiji. He's the young master of Irong Group and the young master of House Qin in Yanjing, Qin Shaoxiong, are friends. Young Master Qin came to his wedding this time as well. Young Master Jie, you just came to Jinling and don't know about your strength and influence, so don't be angry. This is all a misunderstanding. Meng Yao, you misunderstood. House Jiang really did send someone for the funeral. She pulled Meng Yao and said anxiously and sincerely. Jinling's rule is that the dead are the most important, and seeing a coffin is a good thing. It means seeing officials and wealth and getting promoted and getting rich. First, you have to avoid and let the dead pass first. Second, the bride has to throw out money, which means to avoid disaster and get rid of bad luck. This isn't an unsolvable problem, so why do you have to fight to the death with Jiang Tian? She could vaguely feel how terrifying Jiang Tian's strength was and how explosive his temper was. Rumor had it that Nie Feng was skinned alive by him, and the 3 major houses of House Nie were annihilated. So, she hoped that Jiang Tian would give face to House Qin in Yanjing and have some scruples. She also hoped that Su Shiji and Meng Yao would stop while they were ahead. Yanjing House Qin? Jiang Tian furrowed his eyebrows, deep in thought. He had heard of Su Tianyun before, but had never interacted with him. However, one of Qin Zhong's sons was Qin Zongheng, and he had seen him on the Great Dongya. He was here for the funeral as well. Could the Qin Shaoxiong they were talking about be Qin Zhong's son as well? From Su Shiji's point of view, Jiang Tian's frowning and pondering expression showed that he was scared. Instantly, he became even more arrogant and despotic. He cast a sidelong glance at Jiang Tian and said with a face full of disdain, "You're Zhan Long's martial arts consultant? Hee, you're really something. Under your leadership, Zhan Long is getting worse and worse. I heard that many of them were killed by the Winter Soldiers, and one of their female captains was even fired. It's no wonder that Zhan Long can get better with a piece of trash like you as their instructor." As soon as he finished speaking, many young masters looked at him with respect. So Master Kong isn't doing well in Zhan Long, as expected of a young master from Yanjing. He's well informed, and his vision is not ordinary. He knows Zhan Long like the back of his hand. That's right, we can't compare to him. Yanjing young master PK Zhan Long's martial arts consultant. Who do you think will win this time? I think Su Shiji will win. Yanjing House Qin's young master. Jiang Chao was shocked when he heard that. He didn't know that Jiang Tian had already defeated the Bai family in Yanjing and intimidated the big families in Yanjing, so he thought that he might have gotten himself into big trouble this time. He stepped forward and said, "I was the one who hit him. It has nothing to do with Master Kong. You can kill me or torture me as you wish. Go back. Don't embarrass yourself. Do you think the Jiang family will be respected if you admit defeat?" Beside him, Yi Ziwei tugged at him and reprimanded him with a frown. "It should be fine. There are a lot of people from Yanjing this time. Call Mount Fulong and find out whose son Qin Shaoxiong is. Ask him to come and claim him." While they were discussing, Jiang Tian suddenly sighed. "Why are you sighing?" Tang Bao snorted and looked down at Jiang Tian. She said arrogantly, "You're regretting that you didn't open your eyes back then, right? Back then, the 2 of us wanted to rely on you at the Banana Club, but you threw us out. Now you regret it. If you hadn't been so ruthless, you would still have a chance to rely on the Su family through me and Meng Yao. You're a frog at the bottom of a well. Do you think you're so great just because you have some money? Do you think you're so great just because you can survive in a small place like Jinling? I was willing to plead for you, but you didn't give me any face back then. I won't help you." Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered with Tang Bao. He just looked at Su Shiji indifferently and said, I'm sighing because you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you talk nonsense in front of me when you don't even know my true identity? Even your father has to kowtow to me when he sees me, let alone an ant like you. In the past 6 months, Jiang Tian had been in the limelight and had achieved brilliant results. He killed Xiao Bin of the Russian winter soldier at Moling Lake, showed off his might at the Taoist Palace, chatted and laughed with the South Korean president at the South Korean convention, and then defeated Miyamoto Genichi. Finally, he defeated the 28 mixed army and air brigades, suppressing a country by himself. Not long ago, he killed the 2 ancestral ancestors of the Bai family in Yanjin and forced the other 6 families to submit. It was understandable that the families in Jinling didn't know about these things. After all, these were top secrets that the governments of various countries strictly guarded. Basically, only the military intelligence agencies and top think tanks of various countries or the top experts in the dark world were qualified to know about them. However, the Su family was a big family in Yanjin and also the Qin family's white glove. They should have known about these secrets. It could be seen that either the Qin family had many white gloves and the Su family was just an insignificant one, or Qin Zhong didn't say anything at all. Or Su Tianyun knew but didn't like his useless son and was afraid that he would blabber. What are you talking about? My father kowtowed to you 3 times and 9 times. Are you tired of living? Su Shiji was furious when he heard that. His eyes almost popped out as he took a step forward and was about to push Jiang Tian away. How dare you touch my master? Without waiting for Jiang Tian's order, Shen Mange took a step forward and slapped him. Get lost. But an irresistible force made Su Shiji tumble in the air like a scarecrow and fly more than 10 meters away. Chapter 499. Kacha. Su Shiji landed heavily on the windshield of a Maserati sports car, causing the rich and beautiful girl inside to scream in shock. Only then did he roll down slowly. Shen Mange and Ghost Kick protected Jiang Tian side by side. They were very close to each other, and he respected Jiang Tian even more. Seeing Su Shiji blocking the hearse and disrespecting them again and again, he decided to be merciless and hit Su Shiji until he fainted. No one knew if he was dead or alive. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone was like ducks being strangled by an invisible hand. Their mouths were wide open, but they couldn't make a sound. They didn't expect House Jiang to use such a simple and violent method to deal with Su Shiji. They were so ruthless and decisive. From the looks of it, this girl was Jiang Tian's servant or something. How could she be so violent toward Su Shiji? Sister Mange, you're always so mighty and domineering. Sigh, he deserves it. I seem to remember the time when I was beaten up by Sister Mange. But Su Shiji won't be so lucky. Master Kong has no interest in real estate. He won't take him in as a lackey. Tang Xiaozi, Tai Minghuang, and the others shook their heads and sighed. Shen Mange's action was as expected. They all shrugged and smiled evilly. Meng Yao was stunned at first, but then she ran to Su Shiji's side and started slapping his face. But after shouting for a long time, Su Shiji still didn't wake up. His face was bleeding profusely. It seemed that he was dead. This, Master Kong is too domineering. He just beat him up without saying anything. And it was his servant who did it. Many rich young masters and young ladies were discussing. Their faces were filled with shock and horror. So cool. I realized that I've fallen in love with him. Some of the young ladies' eyes were shining. No one loved heroes since the beginning of time, but ambitious heroes often had a different kind of charm. In the face of Meng Yao's responsibility, Jiang Tian kept tolerating them. Many of the young ladies thought that Jiang Tian was afraid of her and Su Shiji, and they looked down on Jiang Tian. But Jiang Tian didn't do anything, and once he did, he showed that he was far more powerful than the younger generation. This guy is too scary. He's so unscrupulous. With him here, the families of Jinling can't live in peace. However, Chen Chunlong and the other new 4 young masters of Jinling thought of something else and felt a chill run down their spines. Master Kong, right? Who do you think you are? How dare you lay your hands on my Qin Shaoxiong's friend? How dare you lay your hands on the lackeys of my Qin family? Brat, are you tired of living? Just when everyone had their own thoughts and were discussing animatedly, along with a strange shout, the crowd parted like a tide and opened up a path with fear in their eyes. Kneel down and apologize, kowtow to me a few times, call me grandpa, and maybe I'll let you go. Qin Shaoxiong swaggered over. His face was so dark that water could be wrung out. He looked at Jiang Tian sharply. Qin Shaoxiong was very unhappy. Everyone knew that House Su was the representative of House Qin. Slapping Su Shiji's face was the same as slapping his own face. He's the young master of House Qin, one of the 7 great families in Yanjing. Master Kong is in danger this time. Aura? Is this the aura of a martial artist? I felt like I was suffocating when he appeared. He's so strong. Seeing Qin Shaoxiong reprimanding Jiang Tian, everyone's eyes were filled with fear and excitement. The scales in their hearts tilted again. I heard that Master Kong is a martial artist. All the more reason to avoid him. Chen Chunlong looked at Qin Shaoxiong's back with a strange light in his eyes. Like a wise Mr. Zhuge, he said in a deep voice, there are also rules and levels in the martial arts world. The Jiang family only had Grandmaster Jiang, and they couldn't even be considered a martial arts family. As for the Qin family and the other 6 families, they were known as martial arts adjudicator families. They were like emperors who ruled over the entire martial arts world. The Jiang family is too weak. He must be scared. What is the adjudicator family? All the martial cultivators in the world must obey his orders. Nobody dares to disobey him. Everyone must listen to his judgment. Otherwise, it will be a disaster. If that's the case, the Jiang family is really in danger. Li Xiangfeng pushed his gold-rimmed glasses up his nose and sneered, "You're right, young master." However, they were shocked by what happened next. Faced with Qin Shaoxiong's provocation, Jiang Tian sneered and said, "Qin Shaoxiong, kneel down and admit your mistake, and I'll spare your life." "What did you say?" "You're asking for it. I don't care if you're Master Kong or Master Garlic. You're going to die today." When Qin Shaoxiong heard this, anger rose from his heart. His eyes emitted a ferocious glint as he rushed towards Jiang Tian like an arrow and punched him. "Kneel!" It was the first time Jiang Tian attacked. He slapped his palm down as if he was dusting off dust. Boom! Boom! The void shook. An invisible giant palm formed by the spiritual qi of heaven and earth fell from the sky. Qin Shaoxiong felt as if an invisible Mount Tai was pressing down on his head. His knees went soft and he knelt on the ground. Splat. Then, under the monstrous power, he prostrated himself on the muddy ground like a toad. "How dare you, Jiang? I'll wipe out the Jiang family and leave no one alive. I'm the young master of the Qin family." Qin Shaoxiong gritted his teeth and struggled with all his might. He cursed loudly. His lungs were close to exploding from anger. "You're the young master of the Qin family? Huh, are you that great?" Under everyone's horrified gaze, Jiang Tian stepped on Qin Shaoxiong's face and rubbed it so that his face was in close contact with the muddy ground. He said mockingly, "What's so special about you? There's nothing special about you. Didn't I slap you until you were lying on the ground like a toad and I stepped on your face? If there's anything special about you, it's that your face is thick enough. Damn it, even the soles of my Gucci shoes are going to wear out. My heart aches." Jiang Tian even lifted his foot to look at the soles of his shoes. He had a pained look on his face. His venomous tongue was also unprecedented. Everyone was dumbfounded. Jiang Tian slapped Qin Shaoxiong until he knelt and stepped on his face. It was not just a beating, but an extreme humiliation. He had trampled the face of the Qin family in Yanjin into the mud. Jiang Tian's move was even worse than killing Qin Shaoxiong. It was a humiliation that he would never be able to bear in his life. Qin Shaoxiong raised his head and shouted angrily. He was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He was the son of Qin Zongheng's concubine. He was ostracized and suppressed by his elder brother, Qin Zongheng, and had no status in the family. Long-term suppression had formed his perverted and twisted mentality. He was arrogant and domineering in the secular world and liked to trample on people. He was too lazy to trample on ordinary people, but he liked to trample on those who had a certain status. Trampling on the dignity and pride of his opponents and watching them cry in pain, he always felt better than having sex. This was the only hobby he had left. Anyway, no matter how much hatred others had in their hearts, they could only hold their noses and endure it because he was Qin Zongheng's son. Therefore, he became more arrogant and domineering. But he didn't expect that he would be trampled on by Jiang Tian and be humiliated in such a fancy way. He couldn't help but be furious, but he couldn't resist. His genuine qi was in a mess and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Ha, a martial artist? You spat out blood from my stomp? You can't even withstand a single blow." Jiang Tian sneered. "Brutal. Crazy. Ruthless. Arrogant." Seeing this, Qin Chunlong, Su Lai, Li Xiangfeng, Yen Yi, and the other young masters felt a chill run down their spines. They didn't dare to say anything and only those words echoed in their minds. This was the young master of one of the top families in Yanjing, but he was trampled on by Jiang Tian and even spat out blood. If these small fries in Jinling went against the Jiang family, the consequences would be tragic. They didn't dare to imagine it. They probably wouldn't be any better than House Nye, House Sun, and House Chen. "Jiang Tian, you still don't want to stop." Meng Yao and Tang Bao were anxious and scared. They almost fainted and their delicate bodies trembled crazily. Mu Yunqing put her hand on her forehead and looked at Meng Yao helplessly. "I told you not to fight Jiang Tian to the death, but you just had to go against him. You know how violent his temper is and how ruthless he is. It's not like you don't know. Even if you can deal with Jiang Tian after this, you'll still be at a disadvantage." At this moment, the ambulance arrived. It was to save Su Shiji. Jiang Tian waved his hand and ordered, "Jiang Chao, block the road. Don't let the ambulance come." "Understood." Jiang Chao went over. He was happy. Today, Jiang Tian violently beat up Su Shiji and trampled on Qin Shaoxiong. It was truly exhilarating. "Jiang Tian, you're too ruthless. Why are you blocking the way when the ambulance is coming? Do you want Su Shiji to die? Are you trying to kill him? Do you want me to be sad for the rest of my life?" Meng Yao was shaking with anger. She pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, "You're too narrow-minded, aren't you? Just because I abandoned you, you're taking revenge on me like this? Do you have to be angry with me?" In the chaos, she lost one of her crystal high heels. Her bare feet, shoes, and wedding dress were covered in dirt. Her little crown had also run away. Her hair was disheveled, and her tears had washed away her fake eyelashes and eyeshadow, leaving ugly stains on her face. She looked like a phoenix turning into a chicken. "I want this bastard dead." Jiang Tian's face was calm. His eyes were cold. "You think I'm angry with you? You think too highly of yourself. You don't deserve it. In fact, I didn't want to argue with you. But I suddenly thought of something that made me very unhappy. You blocked the road just now, and an ambulance was stopped. The pregnant woman in the ambulance almost died. His life was a life, but other people's lives weren't. Rich people's lives are important, but poor people's lives aren't. I want you to have a taste of being blocked. Have a taste of being treated like ants. I want you to know that you have no dignity at all." "You," Meng Yao was speechless. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Even if she was unreasonable, she still had to fight back. Like a shrew, she shouted herself hoarse, "Fine, don't leave if you have the guts. Let's see how the Qin family and the Su family deal with you. I'll make you regret it. I'll make you kneel on the ground and beg for mercy." Chapter 500. At the same time, at the funeral banquet in the Fulong Mountain Villa, Deputy Commanders Su, Tang Hongtu, and Qin Zongheng sat together and whispered to each other. Deputy Commander Su was Su Yohang's father and ranked third in the military. Ever since Su Yuhang had been bullied by Jiang Tian for standing up for Yi Haochen in Singapore, he had taken the opportunity to build a relationship with the Jiang family. This time, he was also invited. "Old Tang, Zongheng used to be in the Supreme Council. You were the one who led the troops back then. You have to help him and put in a good word for him in front of Master Kong. He used to follow that ambitious bastard from the Bai family. He was also bewitched and led astray. Qin Zhong and his son Qin Zongheng stood behind Tang Hongtu. Both of them held their wine glasses and were very polite. Well said. Although I'm not talented, the Tang family and Master Kong still have some friendship. Tang Hongtu clinked his glass with Qin Zongheng and promised to take care of everything. He was very happy inside. Even if he was in a high position, he wouldn't have been noticed by a martial arts giant like Qin Zhong. This was all because the Tang family and Master Kong were very close. Now that Master Kong defeated the Bai family, the Qin family needed to rely on Jiang Tian, so they thought highly of Tang Hongtu. Thank you, Uncle Tang. Qin Zongheng drank the wine in his glass in one gulp. Then he pulled Qin Zhong to sit down and whispered angrily, Dad, when I came back from the Great East Asia, I already told you that Master Kong is not to be trifled with. Why are you still so close to the Bai family? I didn't expect it either. Master Kong is too powerful. Alas, I don't know if he will let us go. Qin Zhong shook his head and sighed. Thinking of the battle where Jiang Tian killed 11 gods on Xianglu Peak, he felt a chill in his heart. Qin Zongheng lowered his voice and comforted him, It should be okay. This time, we took the initiative to send Mr. Old Devil off. Master Kong should let us go. I heard that Commander Su's son also offended Master Kong, but now, it seems that Master Kong is not a narrow-minded person. Suddenly his cell phone rang. He picked up the call and was shocked. His hand trembled and the wine glass fell to the ground with a clang. What's the matter? Qin Zhong frowned and asked. Qin Zongheng had always done things appropriately and never made any mistakes. Even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, his expression would not change. Now that he was in Master Zhang's house in front of so many distinguished guests, how could he be so rude? Qin Zongheng's face was already pale, and he was sweating. He leaned close to Qin Zhong's head and whispered something. Qin Zhong's eyes widened in an instant, and he almost had a heart attack. He gnashed his teeth and shouted angrily, Crazy! This good-for-nothing bastard is crazy. He actually went against Master Kong. Isn't he trying to kill us? Deputy Commander Su, who was in a military uniform, had a strong aura. He frowned and asked, Master Qin, what's the matter? Qin Zhong said concisely. Deputy Commander Su was also shocked. He said, How could this happen? I was wondering why Jinling was so crowded today. The Su family and the local officials are really stupid. A pillar of the army like him had a heart of love for the people and the country. He had deep feelings for the people, and the thing he couldn't stand the most was seeing these rich people bully others and run amok. At this time, he was also very angry. Yes, Qin Zhong's face was full of shame. He hurriedly said, Zongheng, we have to go there quickly. Deputy Commander Su said, Well, I came here by helicopter. You can use it first. Hurry up. Thank you, Uncle Su. Qin Zongheng took Qin Zhong's hand and rushed out of the door against the wind and snow. On the helicopter, the pilot, who already knew the whole story, increased the speed to the maximum and rushed to the site of the incident. What's going on? Su Tianyun and his son and Xiaoxiong's phones can't be reached. This animal, son of a bitch, how dare he mess with Master Kong? I'll break his legs. Qin Zhong sighed from time to time and cursed from time to time. Drive faster, drive faster. Our Qin family is finished this time. However, Qin Zongheng also had a bitter face. He was burning with anxiety and kept urging the pilot. He originally wanted to join Master Kong. Tang Hongtu and Yi Zhantian had already agreed to make peace. Now, because of this idiot brother of his, not only did all his previous efforts go to waste, but the Qin family might also be facing a disaster. At the site of the incident, the west street of Huanqing Road, the atmosphere was still tense. Both sides were ready to fight at any moment. The richest man Su is here. The 100 million small target is here. At this time, there was a burst of exclamations. The crowd once again made a path. A middle-aged man with slicked-back hair, wearing a fitted suit, strode over. The richest man in Huaxia, Su Tianyun. The father and son of the Su family left behind many golden words in Huaxia. Young Master Su once said in the media, I never care about money when making friends. They're not as rich as me. Su Tianyun once said, a person must have a goal. For example, set a small goal and earn 100 million first. Su Tianyun had actually been in the convoy the whole time. Originally, he didn't care about House Chu and Meng Yao, who didn't even have 100 million in assets. A marriage like this didn't help the house at all, but his son's private life was a mess. He changed women every few days, and they were all young models and celebrities too. Now that his son was willing to settle down and marry Meng Yao, Lin Yi didn't mind at all. However, he wasn't happy, so he only greeted Meng Yao's father. He didn't show up from the beginning to the end. He didn't care about the situation in the convoy. He was still working in the car until he heard that his son and young Master Qin were beaten up. He was shocked and came out to deal with it. Su Tianyun glanced at the unconscious Qin Shaoxiong and Su Shiji on the ground. Anger and heartache flashed in his eyes. He sized Jiang Tian up from top to bottom for a while and berated coldly, Grandmaster Jiang, you've gone too far. Just because the convoy of House Su stopped you for a few minutes, you're going to fight like this? You're being unreasonable. So what if I'm being unreasonable? If you have the guts, bite me. Jiang Tian did not even look at him and said indifferently. Su Tianyun paused for a moment. He was so angry that he started laughing. Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like this? Even if your mother or father came, even if Secretary Fan came personally, they wouldn't dare talk to me like this. You, a dog of House Qin, don't have the right to let me know your name. Jiang Tian looked at him with disdain, as if he was looking at an ant. You? Su Tianyun's face flushed red. His slightly widened eyes were filled with coldness and killing intent. Chen Chunlong, Su Lai, Li Xiangfeng, Yan Yi, the other young masters of Jinling, Meng Yao, Tang Bao, and the other young ladies were all dumbfounded. They had heard that Master Kong was domineering and could suppress Su Jinlei. They had heard that he dared to challenge Yi Wudao, but most of them thought that it was an exaggeration. But today, even the richest man in Huaxia, Su Tianyun, didn't give face to Jiang Tian. Who in Jinling could enter his eyes? Su Tianyun was indeed the richest man in China. He had been in the business world for many years and was extremely shrewd. He quickly calmed his anger and said coldly, Grandmaster Jiang, I know that you are an extraordinary person that is hard to come by in 100 years. You have supernatural powers and earth-shattering martial arts. You are the martial arts consultant of Zhan Long and have the support of Tang Hongtu of the Supreme General Staff. But you should know that my House Su isn't something you can mess with. Not to mention that my House Su's wealth is far greater than your House Zhang's, our political power is far greater than yours. More importantly, my House Su has the support of Yanjing's House Qin. And House Qin is a family of martial arts adjudicators. They have a good relationship with the other 6 adjudicating families. Offending House Qin is the same as offending all 7 of Yanjing's top families. If the 7 families work together to suppress you, how many nails can you crush if you're made of iron? Su Tianyun said. Chen Chunlong and the other young masters of Jinling nodded. Their eyes were filled with schadenfreude. Su Tianyun's words made sense. Jiang Tian was definitely a big shot. He had single-handedly pushed the House Jiang from a third-rate family to one of the top families in Jinling City. There had never been such a powerful figure in Jinling City, or even the entire Lingnan province and Su province since the founding of the country. The problem was that Jiang Tian didn't know that the tallest tree in the forest would be destroyed by the wind. The House Jiang had just risen and its foundation was still unstable. They should have hidden their claws and fangs, making more friends and fewer enemies. This was a rare opportunity for them to develop and stabilize their foundation. However, Jiang Tian domineeringly pushed forward, his sharpness too great, stepping down on Qin Shaoxiong. This offended too many people. If they were to become enemies with the 7 major families of Yanjing, the House Jiang would be no match for them. The 7 adjudicating families of Yanjing? Jiang Tian snorted with disdain. The House Bai had already been destroyed by him, but Su Tianyun still called himself one of the 7 major families of Yanjing. This meant that he was only a peripheral figure in the House Qin's camp and had no access to the core secrets. With that thought in mind, Jiang Tian sneered and said coldly, "In your eyes, they are powerful and untouchable. But in my eyes, they are just a bunch of bugs that I can kill with a stomp." Everyone was shocked by what they heard. Everyone went silent and looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at an idiot or a lunatic. "Kid, you really don't know your place." Su Tianyun was enraged by Jiang Tian's arrogant attitude. He then cracked a sinister smile and said, "If the Qin family wanted to kill you, Tang Hongtu wouldn't be able to stop them. Besides, the eldest son of the Qin family, Qin Zongheng, is in Jinling right now. If they see their brother being beaten like this, how will they react?" As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place went into an uproar. Everyone's heart skipped a beat and their faces paled. The young lord of the Qin family, Qin Zongheng, was in Jinling City. Unlike the greedy and lustful Qin Shaoxiong, Qin Zongheng was one of the most talented young men in Yanjin. Rumor had it that he used to serve in the military and was a young transcendent grandmaster. He used to have a bright future in the military, but he left the military and joined the Condor unit. He was the vice captain of the Condor unit and Bai Dichen's right-hand man. In the past, he would even address Chen Zifan as Brother Zongheng. Although Qin Zongheng had left the military, his influence had increased. Even Tang Hongtu, who was a pillar of the military and secretary fan of the Jiangsu province, who was a high-ranking official, had to talk to Qin Zongheng as an equal. They didn't dare to put on airs at all. Jiang Tian was no match for Qin Zongheng. If he encountered Qin Zongheng, he was afraid that he would have to lie low and hide his claws like a cat. Chapter 501. TSK, Qin Zongheng is in Jinlin City? This time, Jiang Tian has really bumped into the spearhead, bumping into a tough nut. Everyone discussed spiritedly. "I heard that 10 years ago, when Qin Zongheng was only a teenager, he went hunting in Baitu Mountain and met a tycoon from the northeast. That tycoon was disrespectful and killed himself after he found out about Qin Zongheng's identity. The local mayor was taken away in 3 days." The rich girl who knew about the powerful forces in Yanjin said with admiration, "If Qin Zongheng is here, the Jiang family will definitely be in trouble." Sigh, Jiang Tian has really brought trouble to the Jiang family this time. Hearing this, some of the second-generation young masters and young ladies were shocked, some were gloating, and some were indifferent to the matter, completely treating it as a good show. However, most of them were still on the side of the Su family and the Qin family. No one tried to persuade Su Tianyun. "Fine, let them come and collect your body. You bunch of ants. You really don't know what's good for you." Jiang Tian sneered at Su Tianyun, who had brought up Qin Zongheng. Jiang Tian was so powerful that he could drink with the leaders of countries like South Korea and Singapore. His friends were the tycoons like the Hilton family, the Xingyueli family, and the Mitsui Group. Just 2 months ago, he defeated the Cherry Blossom Society and killed Miyazaki Benichi on Mount Fuji. He swept through Japan and suppressed a country by himself. He was incomparably powerful. He had returned to Huaxia a month ago and killed 11 gods on Mount Xianglu. He had also destroyed the Bai family of Yanjin. The other 6 families in Yanjin were all afraid of their own safety and tried to curry favor with him. Qin Zongheng dared to provoke him? He was scared to death. Su Tianyun was enraged. Chen Chunlong, Su Lai, Li Xiangfeng, Yan Yi, and the other young masters of Jinling also had ugly expressions on their faces. Jiang Tian was too arrogant. His words overturned an entire boat of people, scolding all the young masters of Jinling and Su Tianyun as ants. At this moment, a whistling sound came from the horizon. Everyone turned their heads and saw a helicopter hovering over and landing on the rooftop of the Golden Sea Hotel building. Su Tianyun's gaze suddenly became complacent, full of confidence, as if Jiang Tian was already an ant that couldn't be more dead. He laughed sinisterly and said, "Young Master Zongheng is here. Qin Zongheng is here." The entire place was in an uproar. "Look at the paint, that's a helicopter from the Jinling military region." Su Lai's face was full of envy, and his eyes were full of crazy worship. This is not something that ordinary people can mobilize. This is the extravagance of a young master from Yanjing. The shrewd-looking Li Xiangfeng also nodded and sighed. Just based on this point alone, the Jiang family couldn't do it. The disparity was obvious. Master Kong is quite capable. Unfortunately, his opponent this time is not on the same level as him. Yanyi heaved a long sigh. He had mixed feelings. Thinking that the overbearing Master Kong was going to be finished this time, he actually felt a little regretful. If he didn't take the family's interests into consideration, he really admired Jiang Tian. This kind of domineering and powerful young master had not appeared in the circle of young masters in Jinling for decades. He was far more powerful than the new 4 young masters of Jinling. He even had the thought of joining Jiang Tian's side. He really doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He thinks he can dominate Huaxia just because he's popular in Jinling? A frog at the bottom of a well. On the other hand, Chen Chunlong's face was filled with schadenfreude. His smile was sinister. Qin Shaoxiong, who was being helped up by Tang Bao, still had blood on his mouth. He snarled and shouted, "Jiang, my brother is here. You're going to be killed." At this moment, even Su Ruoqing and the others who didn't know that Jiang Tian had already destroyed the Bai family were a little worried. This was Qin Zongheng. Could Jiang Tian be his opponent this time? The Qin family was like the Shinueli family in South Korea, the Mitsui family in Japan, the Rockefeller family, the Morgan family, and the DuPont family in America. They were like pillars of the world and the cornerstone of a country. They were as rich as a country and had great power and influence. It was just that they kept a low profile and didn't know about it. However, they still didn't persuade Jiang Tian to back down. Since he had chosen to follow Jiang Tian, then he would have to go all the way and fight to the death. At this moment, Su Ruoqing turned around and glanced at Shen Mange and Yi Ziwei, only to see the 2 women smiling mockingly. She couldn't help but be shocked and even more confused. What's the meaning of this? They're even smiling? Master Kong can still suppress Qin Zongheng. No way. At this moment, the crowd was in an uproar. Everyone retreated as if they were avoiding a demon god. Qin Zongheng was here. Clatter, clatter. Qin Zongheng was wearing a black casual suit and black trousers. He wore a white flower on his arm, and his high-top leather shoes stepped through the mud formed by the melted snow. He walked over with a majestic gait. Although no one crowded around him, Qin Zongheng was brimming with a terrifying aura. Even though he was alone, it was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses behind him. Especially when his face was pale and his lips were tightly pursed. He gave off a feeling of power and decisiveness. His enormous aura was like 10,000 mountains, and even Su Tianyun was firmly suppressed. His figure was a little cowardly and hunched. What a domineering aura! As for the young masters of Jinling, they had to back down. They all stepped back and looked at Qin Zongheng with respect and fear. It was as if they were believers looking at a god. This is the aura of a young master from Yanjing. Meng Yao, Tang Bao, Mu Yunqing, and the other young ladies of Jinling had their eyes shining. Their hearts were racing, and their faces were filled with admiration. Sigh. Compared to him, Su Shiji is like a pig. Meng Yao's eyes had a trace of intoxication. Her heart was beating fast. However, she didn't dare to say this out loud. Yanjing's House Qin was a big family with 200 years of history. They had a lot of power and connections, and their status was unparalleled. Su Shiji, or rather, House Su, was just a white glove of House Qin, a high-level henchman. Moreover, Qin Zongheng was handsome, and he practiced martial arts. His body was well-maintained, and he was full of energy. His aura was imposing, and his charm was eye-catching. In terms of appearance alone, Su Shiji, a rich young master who was hollowed out by wine and women, couldn't compare to him. Seeing that Qin Zongheng was suppressing Jiang Tian, the unconscious Su Shiji came back to life. With Meng Yao's help, he stood up shakily and pointed at Jiang Tian. "Jiang, it's time for you to die. Kneel and accept your death. Even young Master Zongheng is here. Even young Master Qin is here to support House Su. He's giving House Su too much face. Bro, you're good. In that instant, many relatives and friends of House Su smiled proudly as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Su Tianyun smiled proudly as well. Qin Zongheng had stepped forward to suppress Master Jiang for his family. It could be said that he had given enough face. What a benevolent and righteous master he was. He made up his mind that after this matter was resolved, he would work harder for the Qin family. Young Master Zongheng, I didn't think that I would actually alarm you. I'm so sorry. He quickly straightened his clothes and walked out of the crowd. His face was full of joy as he greeted Qin Zongheng respectfully. Bro, why are you only here now? Bro, take revenge for me. I was beaten up by this bastard. Stomp him to death so that he'll never be able to rise again. Qin Shaoxiong, on the other hand, was ecstatic as if he had found a powerful backer. He ran towards Qin Zongheng. What he got in response was a clean slap. Bastard! Qin Zongheng quickly stepped forward and raised his right hand high. With a strange howl, he slapped Qin Shaoxiong's face hard like a ghost wailing and a wolf howling. In a flash, half of Qin Shaoxiong's cheek was crushed as if it had been hit by a cannonball. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. A few pieces of yellow jade mixed with blood spurted out of his mouth. Qin Shaoxiong flew more than 8 meters away and fell motionless on the dirty snow. It seemed that even if he came back to life, he would be a cripple. Qin Zongheng was a transcendent state cultivator. When he hit someone, his internal force and true qi were unleashed. This was not a slap for Jiang Tian to see. It was not for show. It was a real punishment for Qin Shaoxiong. Young Master Zongheng, this. Su Tianyun's smile froze like a plaster. He stopped dead in his tracks and froze on the spot. Go to the Golden Sea Hotel. My dad is waiting for you inside. Qin Zongheng said as he walked past Su Tianyun. He picked up a carbon steel baton covered in mud from the ground. His face was cold and murderous. It made people's hearts palpitate. He walked towards Su Shiji without stopping. Young Master Zongheng, this. Su Tianyun's eyes were filled with fear. It was as if he had seen a demon. He turned around and looked at his son who was panicking. He had a bad premonition. Under everyone's incredulous gazes, Qin Zongheng quickly arrived in front of Su Shiji and shouted, "Move, don't get blood on yourself." This sentence was probably directed at Meng Yao and the others who were supporting Su Shiji. However, he did not wait for the dumbfounded Meng Yao and the others to react. He swung the round carbon steel extendable baton, which glowed with a cold light, and smashed it down towards Su Shiji's left arm. Crack! The bone-chilling sound of bones breaking could be heard. Su Shiji's arm instantly bent into a frightening arc. Blood and flesh flowed out. His black suit and pinkish-white silk shirt were torn, and his white bones were exposed. Ah! Meng Yao staggered back in fright. She stumbled and fell on her butt, soaking herself in mud. Tang Bao's face paled. Her soul almost flew out of her body. She felt like she was about to pee her pants. Young Master Zongheng, spare me. Su Shiji's eyes were filled with fear. He grimaced in pain. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. He staggered back a few steps, but he did not dare run. Slap! Qin Zongheng's baton landed on Su Shiji's face for the second time. Su Shiji's nose bridge collapsed immediately, and a large part of his cheek was smashed. He was stupefied and stumbled. Dizzy and disoriented, he sat on the ground on his butt. Chapter 502. Qin Zongheng's eyes were full of murderous intent. He squatted down and swung his baton at Su Shiji one after another. Every time he hit Su Shiji, his flesh was broken, and his bones were broken. The cracking sounds were loud and clear. Qin Zongheng was really angry. In addition to punishing him, he also wanted to show Jiang Tian his position and vent his anger. After the Bai family was destroyed, the other 6 families in Yanjin suffered a great loss and were in a precarious situation. They were all trying to make friends with Jiang Tian to stabilize the situation. The Qin family also held a meeting to convey the message that all the forces of the Qin family must keep a low profile during this critical period. After all, this was the time when they were at their weakest. It was outrageous. Not to mention that Jiang Taichu would make a move, Perhaps the government would eradicate these lawless big families. But just as the Qin family lost the dignity and face of the big families in Yanjin and went to the Jiang family's funeral to beg for mercy, trying their best to resolve the conflict, Qin Zhong and many other senior members of the Qin family were treading on thin ice, trembling with fear and treading carefully. The Su family and Qin Shaoxiong went against the Jiang family's funeral procession and offended Kong Teichu. What a sin! This was simply kicking the Qin clan into a pit of fire. It was simply consigning the Qin clan to eternal damnation. He didn't even dare to imagine how miserable the Qin clan would be if Jiang Tian decided to fight with the Qin clan. They wouldn't be much better than the Bai family. After all, the Bai family still relied on the Mount Shu sword sect, which made Jiang Tian a little bit worried. But what could the Qin family rely on? Nothing. The baton flashed with a cold light and let out a strange howl. It made the most intimate contact with Su Shiji's fat body time and time again. Every time it smashed down, Su Shiji's blood, flesh, and broken bones would splatter everywhere. In the end, Su Shiji was no longer screaming. He was completely out of breath. His body was like a twisted piece of rotten meat lying in the mud. His crotch was also wet. Blood, foam, and undigested food and wine were spurting out of his mouth. A pungent stench filled the air. There was dead silence. Everyone in the bridal procession, which was several hundred meters long, was dumbfounded and kept quiet out of fear. Hundreds of Jinling City's young masters and daughters couldn't even make a simple note. Half of the street was dead silent. Only the whistling of the north wind could be heard. But a huge question mark appeared in everyone's mind. Why did Qin Zongheng want to beat these two people? And why did he beat them so fiercely? Then, amidst the silence, under the horrified gazes of the crowd, Qin Zongheng threw away his baton, stood up, and walked quickly to Jiang Tian. As if there was no one around, he naturally bent his waist, bent his knees, and knelt on the ground. He lowered his noble head and said in the most respectful tone he had ever used in his life, "Master Kong, all of this is due to the Qin clan's lack of discipline. Our Qin clan has an undeniable responsibility. My father and I are deeply sorry. Please punish us, Master Kong. If Master Kong has any orders, the Qin clan will carry them out to the end without hesitation." Everyone was shocked as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Their eyes widened so much that they almost popped out of their sockets. Qin Zongheng, the young master of the Qin clan in Yanjin, knelt down and apologized to Jiang Tian on the street. That was the Qin clan in Yanjin. The Qin clan in Yanjin that had stood for hundreds of years without falling. They were extremely powerful and wealthy. They were the Qin clan in Huaxia. If they wanted to, they could push a soldier to the position of a general or turn a low-level civil servant into a high-ranking official. Qin Zongheng was the heir of the Qin clan. Needless to say, his status was high and his power was powerful. However, at this moment he knelt down and apologized to Jiang Tian, who was just a young master in Jinling City. This didn't make sense. I don't want to see this Qin Shaoxiong in Huaxia. Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent and his tone was relaxed. He didn't even help Qin Zongheng up, as if it was natural for him to kneel down. "Thank you, Master Kong, for sparing my life." Qin Zongheng looked grateful and said quickly, "The Qin clan will sever ties with him immediately, expel him from the clan, and send him overseas. He will definitely be sent to an African country." From what he said, even if Jiang Tian wants to kill Qin Shaoxiong, he won't stop him. Li Xiangfeng quickly came to this conclusion. He felt a chill in his heart and cold sweat came out like spring water. Who is he? What kind of power does he have? With Tang Hongtu behind him and his identity as Zhan Long's martial arts consultant, it's impossible for him to make Qin Zongheng kneel down and surrender. Su Lai furrowed his brows and looked at Jiang Tian. His expression was extremely serious as he screamed in his heart. He felt as if the young man in black casual clothes was no longer a human being, but a prehistoric beast that was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, capable of devouring the heavens and earth. He didn't just make Qin Zongheng submit. Qin Zongheng said that he would kneel down and apologize on behalf of his father. He can make the Qin clan submit. The Qin clan of Yanjin. This is too powerful. Yen Ye's eyes were filled with fanaticism as if he had seen his idol. Who the hell is he? Is he the reincarnation of an immortal? Is he the reincarnation of an old devil? Facing Jiang Tian's overwhelming power and intimidation, Chen Chunlong's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. His clothes were already soaked in cold sweat. What's going on? He just kneeled down. Could it be that Grandmaster Jiang's tentacles have already reached Beijing? Has he already taken out the Qin clan? That's too fast. Not only the Fourth Lord and the other heirs of Jin City. Even Tang Xiaozi, Bai Qiufei, Tai Minghuang and Su Ruoqing were dumbfounded as they sized Jiang Tian up. It was as if they had just met Jiang Tian for the first time. I don't want to see Su Tianyun's family anymore. I will strip them of their assets and expel them from Huaxia. Otherwise, the Qin clan will have to suffer for me. Jiang Tian's tone was indifferent. However, he was like a god that ruled over the world. His words were law and unshakable. Don't worry, Master Kong. We will deprive the Su family of their assets, and we will not leave a single penny behind. We will send those who should be sent to prison. Qin Zongheng quickly agreed. Su Tianyun was just a high-level henchman and agent who helped the Qin family hold the shares. It was too easy to deal with Su Tianyun. Qin Zongheng didn't hold back either. Let's go. It's time to send Mr. Old Devil off. Jiang Tian turned around and walked towards the hearse. Old Devil, I'm sorry. I didn't let you go in peace before I left. Brother, is useless. He looked up at the sky and sighed sorrowfully, full of bleakness and loneliness. In the lead gray sky, heavy snow once again fluttered down. Winter had truly arrived. Until Jiang Tian and the others once again boarded that inconspicuous Jinbei passenger car and sped away. Qin Zongheng wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and slowly stood up. The biting cold wind blew through his sweat-soaked clothes. He couldn't help but shiver. However, the coldness in his heart was even colder than the coldness in his body. The faces of all the heirs and heirs of Jin City, including the older generation, turned pale. Their eyes were filled with fear and shock. Mu Yunqing felt dizzy and the scenery in front of her blurred. Jiang Tian wasn't just stepping on the Qin clan. He was stepping on the entire Jin City. In the crowd, Meng Yao stared blankly at Su Shiji, who was lying in the mud. She looked at the other heirs who didn't seem to want to help. Suddenly she cried out. She burst into tears. Her tears fell like rain, and her body was on the verge of collapse. Tang Bao, on the other hand, was still in shock. It took her a long time to come back to her senses. She even forgot about her identity as a bridesmaid, forgetting to help Meng Yao up. Mu Yunqing sighed at the sight. Man, if you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it. I told you not to fight to the death with Jiang Tian. It was only then that the ambulance was able to enter. It carried Qin Shaoxiong and Su Shiji onto a stretcher and sped away. Qin Zongheng waved his hand and said listlessly, "Let's go." Many of the young masters hesitated for a while. But they still drove away with their hearts full of confusion in the end. Chen Chunlong, Su Lai, Li Xiangfeng, and Yen Yi looked at each other but didn't leave. Instead, they walked to Qin Zongheng's side and said respectfully, "Master Qin, we were a little disrespectful to Master Kong with our words just now." They were terrified. They didn't fight to the death with Jiang Tian, but they did say a lot of weird things. Who knew if Jiang Tian heard them? Come over together. Qin Zongheng frowned before nodding. He pointed at Meng Yao and the others and walked towards the Golden Sea Hotel. Come here, don't be sad. It'll all be over. Mu Yunqing supported Meng Yao, who was stumbling. She wanted to take this opportunity to see the truth. The young men and women waited outside the restaurant on the first floor as Qin Zongheng went in to report. About half an hour later, someone who looked like an assistant opened the door. They walked into a private room and saw a white-haired old man sitting on the sofa with a pale face. Su Tianyun was kneeling on the floor like a child who had done something wrong, apologizing profusely. Beside him, Meng Yao's father was almost paralyzed on the floor. Tears flowed down his face as he sighed and shook his head. Chen Chunlong and the others were shocked. They couldn't say a word even though they were usually eloquent. Even if they were idiots, They could tell that this old man was the famous head of House Qin, Qin Zhong. Su Tianyun's face was full of pitifulness as he begged. Head of House Qin, my father was Master Qin's personal bodyguard back then. He even took a bullet for him. I've been following you all these years. I've worked hard even if I didn't do anything. Can you please let me go? Killing someone is just a small matter. Jiao is beaten into a cripple, but he's not leaving a single cent, isn't this too? Oh Tianyun, I don't want to do this either, but Master Kang's influence is just too great. Qin Zhong shook his head and sighed. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but Master Kang is someone I can't afford to offend. Meng Yao's blood rushed to her head at the sight of her father panicking. She took a deep breath and said angrily, Head of House Qin, this Jiang Tian was my classmate back in college. I know him better than anyone. He's a good-for-nothing trash, an idiot. He even married into a trash house in Lingnan. I don't know how he made some friends, but when he came back to Jinlin, he released a new product and crushed the 3 houses in Jinlin. He pushed Yaowang Group's stock price up and became a new house in Jinlin. But in terms of assets, connections, and authority, not to mention your Qin clan, he can't even compare to the Su clan. Why are you so afraid of him? So what if we ignore him? Do you think he'd dare to kill us? Is there still any law and order? Chapter 503. Meng Yao, you have no right to speak. This is the head of House Qin we're talking about. Mr. Chu jumped in fright. But Meng Yao couldn't calm her anger. She didn't listen to him at all. She raised her swan-like head proudly and said with tears in her eyes, It's just my wedding car that stopped their funeral car. We didn't commit any crime, did we? But Master Qin broke Su Shiji's bones and tendons. We don't even know if he's dead or alive. Her eyes were calm and fearless, and her voice was mournful and cold, like the cry of a sword. Shiji once proudly said that Uncle Qin, you are his guardian angel, and the Qin family is his backer. But now, what kind of protector are you? What kind of backer are you? Little Chu, how can you talk to the head of House Qin like that? Su Tianyun's face paled. Mr. Chu rushed over and raised his hand, wanting to hit his daughter. Don't hit this girl. Qin Zhong scolded Mr. Chu. He took a sip of his tea and said slowly, This girl is worried about her new husband. She doesn't know the truth, so it's understandable that she's questioning him like that. He then looked at the stubborn Meng Yao and said kindly, You know too little about Master Kang. His fearsome battle record, his fearsomeness. I can't finish talking about it in a day and a night. Let's talk about the battle that made him famous. The Battle of Lin Zhenyu at Poyang Lake. The one who fought Lin Zhenyu at Poyang Lake was Jiang Tian? Meng Yao and Tang Bao looked at each other in shock. The 2 girls went to Poyang Lake Villa with their best friend Lin Manong and met Jiang Tian there. But during the battle, that Master Kang shot into the lake from the villa. They were far away from Jiang Tian and didn't see Jiang Tian's face clearly. That's right. Qin Zongheng interrupted. Lin Zhenyu was the strongest person in the Great Circle, and Master Kang killed him at Poyang Manor and became famous after that battle. Until now, Zhao Yuankuan, Wei Feilong, and Huaqing Tian, the 3 veteran masters have all submitted to him. This is also the beginning of the Heaven Alliance. This so-called Master Kang is actually Jiang Tian. Meng Yao was stunned, her body trembling as her face paled. That was the first time she had witnessed the might of a martial artist, so it left a deep impression on her. At that time, Lin Zhenyu's crimson flame burned the water vapor several li around Poyang Lake. When Master Kang punched down, he raised a water curtain more than 10 meters high and condensed a more than 10 meters long air dragon. It was like a fight between immortals. And, after that battle, he led the Lingnan forces back to Jinling and defeated the 3 major houses of Jinling, including Nie Zhonghai, in the financial war. Qin Zhong sighed. Not only did Kang Taichu defeat them and get their shares, but he also annihilated them completely. We thought it was a fire. That's what the news reported. Chen Chunlong and the others were shocked. They had heard of the rumors before, but they didn't believe it. Now that they heard it from Qin Zhong's mouth, they finally believed it. They couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Annihilating the 3 major houses of Jinling was done with the cooperation of the higher-ups. It's not convenient for me to tell you the reason, but it's enough for you to know. Qin Zongheng sighed. Next, Kang Taichu annihilated the richest family in Nanyang, Guishihai's house. When the Singapore police showed up, Kang Taichu slapped away 3 riot police cars and killed hundreds of armed police officers. In the end, he forced Guishihai to his death and got the shares of the Gua family. Then he defeated the state preceptor Wang Chongyan and took control of the Singapore Chinese society. Even the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien-long, was his disciple and he had to kowtow to him. What? He killed hundreds of police officers? The richest man in Singapore, Guishihai, was killed by Jiang Tian? The news said that he had a heart attack. He also took away the Gua family's assets. Isn't that trillions in assets? Even the Prime Minister has to kowtow to him like a disciple? What's the difference between this and an emperor? Everyone present here was shocked to the point of being thrown off their feet, and they felt their views of the world had collapsed in unison and were unable to be pieced together. Next, it's Kang Taichu's fight with the Russian Grandmaster Qiao Bin. How can you not know about this at Moling Lake? Qin Zongheng frowned. Moling Lake was under martial law that day. We didn't have the right to enter. Chen Chunlong sighed. We went in, but the soldiers said that it was dangerous and chased us out. I didn't finish watching. Tang Bao trembled. The Master Kong who fought with Qiao Bin, is he also Jiang Tian? Meng Yao asked. At that time, Jiang Tian and Qing'er swung out of the lotus flowers on a boat. They were too far away. Meng Yao was only a mortal. How could she see clearly? However, he remembered that at that time, many generals in the army, many high-ranking officials in the province, and many martial arts figures had come to watch. That's right, it's him. Qin Zhong nodded solemnly. Qiao Bin was originally a traitor of Hua Xia's martial arts world, but he was highly valued in Russia. He was able to drink with the commander of the Northern Army and was even received by the Russian Emperor. But he was still killed by Master Kang. Kang Taichu once saved Tanjuan's family, Li Jianxi of the Xinyueli family. Even the president of South Korea had to bow to him as a disciple. There are some things that I can't say. It'll only harm you. At this point, Qin Zhong hesitated. Kang Taichu once dominated the East Ocean. 1 man and 1 ape destroyed a mixed army of 28 soldiers and airmen. This was a secret that only the intelligence agencies of various countries knew. If it were to spread to the secular world, it would shake the foundations of the current social order. But seeing the unwillingness in Meng Yao and Su Tianyun's eyes, he sighed. Also, just a month ago, he killed the minister of the Ministry of Defense, Kono Taro. Boom. As soon as these words came out, it was like a nuclear explosion. Everyone's face changed drastically. They were as pale as corpses that had been dead for 3 days. They couldn't even stand properly. The minister of the Ministry of Defense was the Minister of National Defense. He was an important minister of a country, an important minister of a superpower. He controlled hundreds of thousands of modern military equipment, fighter jets, tanks, missiles, and heavy cannons. He was the most powerful person after the Prime Minister. At this moment, they finally understood how terrifying Jiang Tian was. If he dared to kill the minister of the Ministry of Defense, there was no one he wouldn't dare to kill. So, Brother Tianyun, it's not that I don't want to uphold justice for you. It's not that I don't care about our brotherhood, but we, the Qin family, can't afford to offend him. Qin Zhong smiled bitterly and shook his head. But we still have the other 6 major families in Yenjing. If we do nothing, won't Hua Xia belong to Kang Taichu? Su Tianyun asked unwillingly. Didn't you hear about what happened to the Bai family? Qin Zhong asked. I've heard about it, but I haven't heard the details yet. I was going to ask you about it. Su Tianyun said. Sigh, I thought you were well informed and already knew the inside story. Qin Zhong heaved a deep sigh and said, the Bai family of Yenjin has been uprooted by Kang Taichu and exiled from Huaxia. The reason we came to Jinling today is to pay our respects to Grandmaster Jiang, to bury this ghost kick who died because of the Bai clan. The Bai family, the Bai family. Su Tianyun's face turned pale. His legs trembled violently and he couldn't say another word. "All right, let's settle this matter like this. You can either understand or curse me behind my back. I don't blame you. You can go now." Qin Zhong waved his hand and asked them to leave. After he said that, he seemed to have aged 10 years. Chen Chunlong, Su Lai, Li Xiangfeng, and Yen Yi trembled as they hurriedly asked, "We were disrespectful to Grandmaster Jiang just now, will he also? He even killed the Minister of Defense of Japan. He will kill me. He will kill me." Tang Bao's legs trembled violently when she remembered how she had mocked Jiang Tian. Her legs became wet and she peed on the spot. Since then she had lost control of her bladder. She would pee on the spot and it had been with her for the rest of her life. "He won't." After hearing what they said, Qin Zhong shook his head gently and said, "You don't know Master Kang's temper. He has the vision of embracing the world and swallowing the sun and the moon. He is not a narrow-minded person. Today is the day of his loyal servant, Ghost Kick's funeral. He is so angry because you have offended him." He sighed as if he was a hero past his prime. "With his monstrous power, I'm afraid that only those reclusive immortals and the leaders of countries are qualified to be his opponents. In his eyes, all of us are like ants. How can we even enter his eyes?" A group of Jinling's young masters and socialites walked out of the hotel in a daze, as if they had lost their parents. Tang Bao was so agitated that she did not pay attention to her feet and slipped. Her mouth was full of mud and her knees were bleeding. Qin Zongheng chased after her and said in a low voice, "Don't say a word about what my father said today. Not only you, but also other insiders. Otherwise, the Qin family will not be polite." After he finished speaking, he hurriedly turned around and left without waiting for their reply. "Let's keep a low profile, okay? Let's not mention that title again in the future. We'll become a laughingstock and maybe even make Grandmaster Jiang unhappy." Qin Chunlong and the others only felt that their title as the new young masters of Jinling was a big joke in front of Jiang Tian's peerless might. Mu Yunqing looked up at the snowy sky and sighed softly in her heart. Sister Ruoqing is right. He really is a godlike man. I was wrong before. Compared to the Gua family in Singapore, the Bai family in Yenjing, and the Minister of Defense in Japan, the Su family and the Qin family behind them are nothing. I have to leave the country quickly. I can't stay in Jinling anymore. It's too scary. It's too scary. Tang Bao's eyes were filled with fear as she trembled like a sieve. Meng Yao's heart was already filled with bitterness and bitterness. Her nose was sour and sparkling tears flowed out of her eyes. Jiangbei Master Kong, Zhan Long's martial arts consultant, the richest man in Singapore, the mastermind behind the Xingyueli family, the strongest martial artist in the world. Chapter 504. It wasn't a big deal that she missed out on this. After all, everyone had their own destiny, and Jiang Tian was already married to Zhao Xueqing. She didn't dare to ask for too much. But was she really not asking for anything at all? Maybe she didn't want to. In her bones, she was still unwilling to let go of this opportunity. Because she couldn't get what she wanted, her heart was filled with resentment. Therefore, she had to let Su Shiji compete with Jiang Tian. That was why she fought with Jiang Tian with all her might today. In the end, the Su family was destroyed, and her future and a perfect marriage were ruined. Many thoughts flooded her mind, and her head buzzed as if it was about to explode. Everything in front of her blurred and tilted. Xing! Suddenly, the string called reason in his head, pulled by regret, anger, self-blame, depression, and other negative emotions, made a soft sound and snapped in an instant. Jiang Tian, your singing of Norwegian Forest is very good. Can you sing it for me again? She stared at the empty space in a daze. It was as if Jiang Tian was still there, just like when they were young, holding a wooden guitar and singing a lame love song in front of her dorm under the candlelight. Jiangtan, you have to keep singing for me. A crazy smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, and it grew bigger and bigger. Her smile became crazier and crazier. She dragged her muddy wedding dress and dashed into the snow. She was actually crazy. 8 foster sons carried the portrait, and 16 grandmasters carried the coffin to the funeral parlor. After cremation, they finally buried the ghost. Leaving the cemetery, Jiang Tian sighed on the way. Jiang Tian, being rich isn't necessarily a good thing. Talent doesn't match up to status, virtue doesn't match up to wealth. Sometimes, it can even lead to disaster. You're thinking about the pregnant woman who almost died, aren't you? Wealth, power and power are all dead things. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. The key is who has it. Jiang Tian said indifferently, if a good person has it, it can be put to good use. If a bad person has it, then it's the opposite. Jiang Tun, I have an idea, Jiang Changing suddenly said. What? I want to set up a charity fund to help those who are seriously ill and have no money to treat them, as well as those who are poor because of their illness. There are also children, orphans, and so on. If you want to do it, then do it. I will support you unconditionally. That won't do. You're the patriarch after all. I will definitely report to you. Jiang Changing patted Jiang Tian's shoulder and laughed. Back home, after the banquet, the guests left one after another. Before leaving, Qiu Gong said with tears in his eyes, Master Kong, the death of the ghost kick was worth it. Extremely sad, extremely sad. Tears streamed down his face as he left. Tang Hongtu pulled Jiang Tian's hand and said in a low voice, Master Kong, please don't blame her. That girl Ling Long has gone out to travel. She said that she would help you find cultivation resources. She hasn't returned yet, and there's no news about her. How long has she been out? Jiang Tian was slightly taken aback. No wonder he didn't see Tang Linglong. He wanted her to be his goddaughter. It's been more than a month. There's no news from her. Will she be okay? Tang Hongtu was worried. She is now at level 2 Qi refining stage, comparable to a martial arts grandmaster. Don't worry. Jiang Tian patted his shoulder and comforted him. After sending all the guests away, the family gathered in the living room with bright yellow lights after dinner. Jiang Changing pulled Jiang Tian's hand and asked, Jiang Tian, where have you been for the past year? Qin Zhong's friends in Yanjin must be powerful. Why do they seem to have something to do with the ghost kick? What happened? The battle at Moling Lake, the battle at Tanjun's Taoist Palace, the battle at Dongyang, the battle at Sword Insertion Peak, the battle at Bai family in Yanjin. These were too dangerous. Jiang Tian and his friends had been hiding it from the old man. No wonder the old man was confused. Jiang Tian even hid the battle at Nanyang from the old man. If the Gu God sect hadn't come to the door, the old man wouldn't even know about it. Grandpa, a lot of things have happened in the past year. Let me tell you. Jiang Tian held a cup of tea that Qinger handed to him. Even Yi Ziwei widened her watery eyes and stared at Jiang Tian with a curious look on her face. She had seen Jiang Tian defeat Xing Shanhu, the leader of the Great Circle, on the Micro Whale Princess. However, Xing Shanhu's power was only on par with her father, Yi Gufeng. Now, Jiang Tian was able to suppress Qin Zhong and his friends from Yanjin. She didn't know what had happened in between. Jiang Tian started with the battle with Lin Zhenyu. In fact, it happened before the birthday party of Jiang Zhuang. After the destruction of the 3 major families in Jinling City, Jiang Tian had already told them that he was a cultivator and taught them cultivation methods. However, Jiang Tian didn't tell them about the battle with Lin Zhenyu at that time. After listening, Jiang Changing nodded and said, No wonder Chao Shixiang values you so much and personally came to celebrate my birthday. I'm basking in your glory. It can be said that you saved the Huaxia Martial Arts Alliance. It was a wise decision for him to befriend you. So, the battle between you and Qinger in Jinling City was also caused by the Great Circle? Jiang Zhixing asked worriedly. That's right. In fact, after the battle at Poyang Lake, destroying the 3 major families in Jinling City was like a game. Qing Tian and I went to the top of Mount Everest and found a magical medicine to help Qinger break through her cultivation. Jiang Tian said, But don't worry, the Great Circle won't dare to show his face now. He's scared out of his wits. Brother Tian, you're awesome. That's the Great Circle. Jiang Chao was so excited that he scratched his head like a monkey. This kind of hot-blooded brat loved to talk about the secrets of the underworld. He would brag about it when he was drinking, as if he was very familiar with it. However, these were all rumors he had heard. Originally, the Great Circle was something he could only look up to, but now, it was actually suppressed by Jiang Tian. Actually, before the Spring Festival last year, I went to Singapore to collect a debt. The Guo family of Nanyang owed me 10 billion. Jiang Tian said. How he killed his way into the Guo family, how he encountered the police, how he killed Wang Chongyan, how he suppressed the Chinese Association of Singapore, how he intimidated Li Xianlong, how he became the Grand Preceptor of Singapore, and how he was provoked by Yi Haochen and the others. No wonder the free trade zone was suddenly moved to Yangcheng. Jiang Zhixing slapped his thigh and laughed. Jiang Tian, you're really something. You're suppressing a country by yourself. Yi Ziwei laughed. Little Tian, are you saying that you're worth more than 1 trillion now? What are we doing now? It's enough to last us a lifetime. Jiang Changing said solemnly, how can that be? The Chinese medicine industry is the foundation of our Jiang family. Yi Ziwei laughed and pretended to get up to leave. Grandpa, I'm just joking. I'm going to work overtime. Look at how anxious you are. The old man laughed and sat back down. He can suppress Yi Cheetah? That Yi Cheetah is not an ordinary person. He's known as the Grand Preceptor. Jiang Changing's pupils constricted. He was still reeling from the shock of the Battle of Singapore. Jiang Zhixing nodded. That's right. Yi Cheetah is a man of high academic standards. Even the government officials in the country have studied his works before. Yi Cheetah's family is one of the top families in Zhonghai. Although his expression was extremely indifferent, the praise in his eyes could not be concealed. There were only a few words. My son is awesome. Jiang Changing then asked, but Jiang Tian, what did the Grand Preceptor mean when he said that you're the hero of the nation? Jiang Tian thought for a moment and said, I'm afraid it has something to do with the fact that I'm War Dragon's martial arts consultant. You don't know Wang Chongyan, but his Blue Coat Society was the biggest intelligence organization in the country. So Wang Chongyan is an ambitious man. Little Tian, you're worthy of his praise. Jiang Changing nodded approvingly. Next is the battle with Xiao Bin. It was at Moling Lake. At that time, I had already broken through using the cultivation resources of the Star Continent. Jiang Tian explained Xiao Bin and the battle situation. Heavens, that's someone who can drink and chat merrily with the commander of Russia's Northern Army. But he was actually defeated by my grandson. The old man was completely shocked. July 15th, Moling Lake is not far from us. Jiang Bangxia covered her mouth with her small white hand. Her clear eyes were full of shock. No wonder Moling Lake was under martial law that day. So many policemen were patrolling. A real man should be like that. Jiang Zhixing had heard about this matter, but he did not know that it was all done by Jiang Tian. He slapped his thigh and said, Xiao Bin is a descendant of Yan Huang, but he defected to another country and pointed his knife at Huaxia. He should be killed. Jiang Tian, you did well. You did well in these two matters. As a descendant of Yan Huang, you should fight for your country without fear of death. Those who offend Huaxia must be killed. This is the spirit of martial arts. This is what a martial artist should be like. Jiang Changing praised and encouraged. Jiang Tian, around October, we went to stop South Korea's TKM from applying for the World Heritage Site. That Li Jinju is so respectful to you. It's not just because of your medical skills, right? Jiang Changing narrowed his eyes and asked. Jiang Tian's medical skills might be good, but South Korea also has its own TKM. Li Jinju and the South Korean president do not need to respect a Chinese doctor. Furthermore, this matter is related to the rise and fall of an industry. That was the battle at Lord Tan Daoist Palace. After that, they went all the way to Japan. Jiang Tian explained. Oh, they really went to Japan. Everyone looked at each other. During those few days, Zhao Xueqing stayed in her villa to gather all sorts of tycoons. She even used her family's private jet to welcome and send them off. Zhao Xueqing said apologetically. That battle was too dangerous. That's why I didn't dare to tell my grandfather. Only my friends in the martial arts world know. So what? Didn't Miyamoto Genichi get killed in the end? Jiang Bangxia said with a smile. That battle was really dangerous. Japan even mobilized its self-defense forces. As soon as Zhao Xueqing said that, everyone exclaimed in unison. The teacup in Jiang Chao's hand fell to the ground. When Jiang Tian finished recounting how he, one man and one ape, broke through 1,000 soldiers, killed a major, and swaggered off, the entire hall was deathly silent. Everyone was astonished. Chapter 505. I didn't know you could be so powerful. Jiang Zhixing couldn't believe his eyes. Jiang Changing was also shocked. They had already embarked on the path of cultivation and had experienced the power of cultivators. However, it was still hard for them to believe that they could fight an army head-on. More than a dozen helicopters and hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles. Zhang Wanqing was so angry that she almost burst into tears. How could you take such a risk? How could you keep it from us? Jiang Tian repeatedly apologized, and only then did his mother forgive him. However, Jiang Tian also made up his mind that in the future, even if he was beaten to death, he would never speak of such dangerous battles again. Suddenly, Jiang Changing said calmly, "But Jiang Tian, I heard that the Qinzhong family is the most powerful family in the world. Even Yi Zhantian was defeated by the Qinzhong family. No matter how powerful you are abroad, they might not recognize you. Let's just mind our own business." However, in the end, he still offended the other party. Jiang Tian told his mother how the Gugod sect and the Bai family kidnapped Huang Linger, how he defeated the Gugod sect, killed 11 immortal realm cultivators, and annihilated the Bai family. Do you mean the 7 families are much more powerful than your grandfather's Zhang family? Jiang Zhixing asked with furrowed brows. Compared to the 7 great clans, the Zhang clan is nothing more than an ant. They have 11 half-step to immortal state and immortal state cultivators. Even the Yi family and the Chao Shixiang family dare not provoke them, let alone the Zhang family. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully. Of course, the Zhang family and Su Tianyun are no match for the Zhang family, but the Su family can only work for the Qin family. The Qin family has to obey the Bai family. The Bai family's leg hair is thicker than the Zhang family's waist. Zhang Wanqing rolled her eyes at her husband and then said with a smile, "My son is so powerful. The whole Zhang family is not as powerful as my son." At this moment, Zhang Wanqing wanted nothing more than to hug Jiang Tian in her arms and kiss him fiercely. She wanted nothing more than to hold Jiang Tian's hand and announce to the world, especially to the Zhang family, "See, this is my son." No wonder Qin Zhong and Qin Zongheng were so scared when they heard what the Wang family did. This Qin Zhong knows when to advance and when to retreat. Jiang Changing nodded and finally understood. Then he clapped his hands and laughed. "Good, good, good. From now on, which family in the vast Su province can compete with my Jiang family? Even in Huaxia, there aren't many people." Jiang Zhixing's eyes were also filled with excitement as he smiled. If your grandfather knew that Jiang Tian is so outstanding and that our Jiang family is so glorious right now, I wonder what their expressions would be like. You want to go to Beijing? I'm not going back. I don't want to have any contact with them. Zhang Wanqing's face turned cold as she refused. Back then, Jiang Tian had offended the Song family of Beijing who had come to break off the engagement. Zhang Wanqing had hoped that the Zhang family could say something good and mediate, but Su Shulan had flatly refused and even announced that she had severed ties with her. With no other choice, the Jiang family sent Jiang Tian to Linzhou as a punishment and to avoid the brunt of his power. This was a thorn in her heart. Every time she thought about it, she would feel pain. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Mom, we don't have to go to the Zhang family even if we go to Beijing. Yanjin is so big and it's not the Zhang family's territory." That's true. Now that my son has established a foothold in Yanjin, why should he care about the Zhang family? Zhang Wanqing smiled proudly. Because of the Gugod sect's destruction, the Fulong Mountains array is no longer working. There is a dragon marrow spirit vein in Yuhua Mountain Villa. We can live there and it will help with our cultivation. Jiang Tian said. Yuhua Mountain Villa? The Shuangqing Mansion? So that's where the leaders live. The old man's face was filled with amazement. Jiang Tian nodded and said, it was bought by the Bai family. Now it belongs to me. Go to Beijing. Go to Beijing. Jinlin is such a small place. I'm sick of it. Yanjin is so much fun. Jiang Chao said excitedly. Jiang Changing glared at Jiang Chao, then looked at Jiang Tian and said, but our Jiang family's foundation and production base are in Jinlin, especially the herbal field in Fulong Mountain. It's even harder to find it. The medical industry is the foundation of our Jiang family. We can't lose it. Grandpa, we can keep these, but the main members of the family will have to live in Yuhua Mountain Villa. Jiang Tian insisted. He had just checked the cultivation of a few people. Most of them had stopped at the late stage of physique tempering, which was equivalent to the peak of iron body or the early stage of internal force cultivation. If they didn't use the spirit vein, it would be difficult for them to break through in the future. Zhang Wanqing's eyes lit up and said, Dad, if the Medicine King Group wants to expand, it's best to have the headquarters in Beijing. The resources in Jinlin can't be compared to Beijing. Alright, I can go to Beijing. Jiang Changing thought for a moment, then looked at Jiang Tian and said, but I have to return to Jinlin and Jiang Manor for 3 months every year. Is that okay? Dad, why do you sound like you're asking for Jiang Tian's permission? Jiang Zhixing couldn't help but laugh. He's the head of the family. He's the biggest in the Jiang family. Seniority is seniority, position is position. Jiang Changing said with a laugh. That's right. He no longer treated Jiang Tian as a junior in his heart. He treated Jiang Tian as an equal and even had to respect him. Grandpa, no problem. Jiang Tian knew that Grandpa Jiang was old and couldn't bear to leave his hometown and old friends behind. It was understandable, so he nodded and smiled. The relocation of the core members of the Jiang family to Yanjin was settled, and they began to move. The Medicine King Group was now worth hundreds of billions of dollars, with tens of thousands of employees and hundreds of senior managers. In addition, there were many forces like the Bai family, the Tai family, and the Tang family in Lingnan who had followed the Jiang family to expand their territory in Jinling and Jiangsu province. When the news came out, it immediately shook the officials of Jinlin City. Even Secretary Fan of Jiangsu province was alarmed. They tried their best to persuade the Medicine King Group to stay and said that they would give them benefits in terms of land, electricity, taxes, and other aspects. One had to know that the Medicine King Group was a major shareholder in Jiangsu province, and it was also the leader of private enterprises. If they really moved, it would be an unbearable loss for Jinlin City and Jiangsu province. Chairman Zhang, young Master Jiang, I know that it's inappropriate for the city to block the traffic at Su Shiji's wedding. I'm sorry. The secretary of Jinlin City begged, we have already dealt with Du Min seriously and fired her from her position. I hope that Chairman Zhang can see our determination to change our ways. We don't have any objections to the city's work. It's just that the Medicine King Group needs it. Zhang Wanqing sat at the head of the table like an empress. In the future, we will increase our support for the Medicine King Group in terms of taxes. The secretary was still unwilling to give up. Of course, he didn't know that the Jiang family needed the Yuhua Manor for cultivation. He only thought that it was because the Jiang family felt that the investment environment in Jinlin City wasn't good enough. He was filled with regret, and he wanted to slap himself a few times to vent his anger. Why are you so cheap? How many benefits can Jinlin City get by sucking up to the Su family? Not only did the Su family fail to suck up to them, they even offended the Medicine King Group. The conditions offered by Jinlin City were indeed quite favorable, but Beijing might not be able to provide them. Therefore, Zhang Wanqing, Yi Ziwei, and Jiang Lin came up with a compromise. The Jiang family's shares in the Medicine King Group would be transferred to a new company, Medicine King Holdings, registered in Beijing, and the Medicine King Group would still be registered in Jinlin City. This way, most of the taxes would be kept in Jinlin City. When the news came out, the senior officials in Jiangsu province and Jinlin City cheered as if they had won a major victory. Secretary Fan, accompanied by Secretary Yu, personally visited Zhang Wanqing and expressed his gratitude. He also reiterated his unwavering support for the Medicine King Group and promised various benefits in the future. For the number one official in Jiangsu province, taxes were only one thing. The key was the relationship with the senior officials. In the past 2 years, the central government officials had inspected the Medicine King Group more than once, and the benefits they brought were indescribable. 7 days later, the relocation plan and the people in charge of all aspects of the relocation were basically confirmed. Grandpa, Dad, Mom, you don't have to send me off. Aren't we going to get together in a few days? At the Jinlin International Airport, Jiang Tian held Jiang Wan's hand and said goodbye to his grandpa and parents while being surrounded by Zhao Xueqing, Huang Linger, Yi Ziwei, Jiang Bangxia, Shen Mange, and Jiang Wan. This time, Jiang Tian and the others were going to be the vanguard for the family. After all, the lease and purchase of the office building and the registration of the company had to be arranged in advance. Jiang Tian wanted to take Huang Linger with him as soon as possible. In fact, Huang Linger was born with a Yi-Wood spirit body. Although she was not as strong as Qingya, she was definitely stronger than Jiang Tian before he reconstructed his body. Her power had already reached the Qi refinement level, which was also the reason why her wounds healed quickly after she was injured by the Gu God sect. However, her problem was that she had only mastered the art of Qi refinement. She didn't have any Dharma artifacts or offensive skills, so she couldn't use her power. Once she mastered these skills, not only would Huang Linger be able to protect herself, but Jiang Tian would also have a powerful helper. As for Jiang Wan, it was already winter vacation, but she insisted on going to Yanjin with Jiang Tian. She claimed that she wanted to be responsible for her own life and wanted to choose a good school for herself. Jiang Tian, fourth uncle's family has treated us well, especially Yilin. She is like your biological sister. You must visit them. I haven't heard from them for a long time, and I'm worried. Zhang Wanqing said, Don't worry. I will visit them. Jiang Tian felt a tinge of warmth when he thought of the little girl who was loyal to her family. Jiang Tian, Yanjin is a place with hidden talents. Although you are in a high position and have a lot of power, you better be careful. Jiang Changing said worriedly, Grandpa, don't worry. I know. Jiang Tian comforted him and then led everyone to board the family's G550 private plane. The plane took off. Jiang Tian looked to the north with a stern gaze. He was finally going to set foot in Yanjin. The Zhang family on his grandpa's side, the Song family, Zhang Danfeng, Song Shuangyan, and my enemies from my previous life, are you ready to face my wrath? Chapter 506. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Xianglu Peak. When Jiang Tian was on his way to Yanjing again, the news of the battle was still spreading. Yanjing, Kunming Lake, Song Manor. The area was very large, more than 100 acres. The palace was continuous and the eaves were raised. The sky was clear after the snow. The snow had not completely melted. The bright yellow glazed roof was shining under the warm sun of Yanjing. There were 9 winding corridors, pavilions, rockery, and many precious flowers and plants swaying gently under the towering trees. Everything was a testament to his master's immense wealth, monstrous authority, and extraordinary taste. A red imported Mercedes-Benz passed through the tight security check, drove across the 4-lane asphalt road, and slowly drove into a quiet and exquisite courtyard. The door opened. A slender leg wrapped in black stockings that could make a loafer's nose bleed came out. As a pair of this year's latest brown suede Prada women's boots stepped on the ground, a tall, curvaceous woman with long black hair like a waterfall slammed the car door, wrapped herself in a beige woolen windbreaker, and walked towards a large, quaint house. The girl was 1.73 meters tall. With 8-centimeter high heels, her figure was comparable to a model. Gucci sunglasses covered half of her face. But just by looking at her white chin and red lips, one could tell that she was definitely an enchanting woman. Shuangyan, you haven't left your house for half a year. Are you planning to buy PetroChina, build an aircraft carrier, or make an atomic bomb? The woman walked into a warm room. The room was very warm. The floor was paved with green stones. There was a large carved bed, a mahogany square table, and an incense box with a king one key on the table. On the right side, there was a rue kiln beauty goblet. There was a chair in the goblet. The cold plum blossoms were scattered and emitted a delicate fragrance. There were famous paintings hanging on the wall. There was a beautifully carved sword in the scabbard. It was like a lady's boudoir during the Republic of China. The girl took off her windbreaker and teased a woman who was playing the zither in front of the window. "You're really doing me a favor today. You actually called me over. Humph, it's been half a year. It's so hard to see you. I called you so many times, but you didn't want to see me." As soon as the girl took off her sunglasses, her stunning face was completely revealed. Her makeup was exquisite, and her pair of clear but passionate eyes made people feel intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. However, the girl was even more alluring because of her fiery figure. Her breasts were very big. Her buttocks were very round, her waist was very thin, and her thighs were very long. If a woman could stand out in these four aspects, even if her face was a little ugly, she would still be a stunner that men yearned for even in their dreams. Moreover, she wasn't ugly at all. Moreover, her temperament was even more dazzling. The most attractive thing about her was the temperament that she exuded through her every movement. She just stood there lazily and frivolously, giving off a mature and noble vibe of a queen. She was like a ripe honey peach. As long as he gently bit through the thin layer of skin, she would drip with water. Yes, this was a woman who looked like she could drip water from head to toe. A man made of mud would naturally crave for the nourishment of a woman who was like water. If a man from Beijing's upper class was here, he would definitely be unable to take his eyes off her, and his heart would be restless. This was because she was one of the four beauties of Beijing whose beauty shook Beijing. She was the person behind Huaxia's largest women's products group, Qingqing International, Li Yanmei. Misty eyes charming. This name was very suitable for her temperament. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also extraordinarily capable and very skilled. Less than 10 years after her debut, she had created the #1 cosmetics group in Huaxia, Qingqing International. In addition, she was also the owner of the largest club for rich people in Beijing. Conquering this kind of woman whose background, appearance, and IQ were all first class was probably the lifelong dream of many men. Sister Yanmei, do you know that in the whole of Beijing, the thing I hate the most is your poisonous mouth? Song Shuangyan finally got up slowly after the song ended. She turned around and rolled her eyes at Li Yanmei, seemingly angry and happy. More beautiful after frost, more clear after snow. Song Shuangyan's small face had delicate features, but it was very cold, like an iceberg that could not be melted in 10,000 years. Even if she was smiling, it still gave people a cold feeling. However, that pair of clear eyes were shining with a bright luster, appearing very wise and deep. Her body was well-proportioned and exquisite, as if she was an ordinary female university student. However, Li Yanmei did not dare to underestimate her at all. She was even a bit afraid because Song Shuangyan was actually the most powerful person in the Song family. She was only 28 years old, but she had already completely controlled the family business of the Song family. She was also the advisor of the Song family's old man. Old Song simply listened to her, and many of the family's strategies and decisions came from her. Under her advice, after a series of alliances, the Song family, which was originally ranked outside the top 10 in Beijing, had risen steadily in just 5 years, becoming one of the top 5 super families in the secular world of Beijing. Do you know that something big happened in Beijing? Li Yanmei no longer joked, but said with a serious face. You're talking about the battle on Xianglu Peak, right? I've already heard about it. Song Shuangyan was wearing a white Han costume, and her beautiful feet were stepping on embroidered slippers. Her temperament was ethereal, like a fairy who had descended to the earth. She sat down beside the tea table with the roots of the old tree, which looked like a dancing dragon. She raised her white wrist, and her small jade-white hand calmly brewed the tea. Her delicate and beautiful face was like an eternally unchanging glacier, appearing very calm. My God, You're still in the mood to drink tea. The Bai family was destroyed by that Jiang guy. Li Yanmei was shocked, and her full chest violently heaved up and down, and now the 6 big families are relying on that Kong Teichu. I heard that Chen Zifan became his henchman, and even became the head of the family. Do you think he'll make a move against us? We're the staunchest supporters of the Bai family. Why not drink tea? The sky hasn't fallen. Song Shuangyan nodded, looked at her with interest, and said, Then what do you want to do? Go seek refuge? Li Yanmei shook her head bitterly, and there was deep fear in her beautiful eyes. She said softly, Other than this, what else can we do? The situation is compelling. But what do you have to rely on him? Give him money. I heard that all the big families have prepared billions, or even tens of billions of funds. Money? Song Shuangyan's eyes were shining with wisdom. She smiled and said, I heard that Master Kong is an immortal state elite, and he can fight an army head-on. He once defeated Singapore, South Korea, and Japan. His personal wealth is in the trillions, and he is as rich as a country. To be able to drink and chat with the head of a country, he is very powerful. His power is not something that you and I can imagine. Billions, billions, tens of billions. It's just a drop in the ocean for him. Damn, then what should we do? Li Yanmei's eyes widened, and she said with a pained expression, I've prepared the money, and I sold 10% of my shares. Did I sell my shares for nothing? For now, there are 2 ways. Song Shuangyan smiled and said, One is to rely on Master Kong, but money is not enough. Spiritual herbs, magical items, and magical items are all cultivation resources. The other is to rely on someone more powerful than Master Kong. For example, Shu Mountain, Kunlun, Dian Song, and other big sections. I would like to, but our Li clan cannot be compared to your Song clan. At the very least, the Song clan has a few perfected cultivators and martial Dao experts. Our Li clan does not have a single one. Our eyes are in the dark. How can we get the cultivation resources you speak of? We can't even talk to these semi-hidden sections. They are like gods in heaven. Li Yanmei smiled bitterly. You only need to pay for it. I have people here. Song Shuangyan's jade-white little hand handed over a cup of tea, and she mysteriously smiled. Money? How much do you want? 1 billion. Oh my God. Then I still have to sell my shares. If I continue to sell, I'll have to sell my body in heaven on earth. Li Yanmei's face was full of pain and was very depressed. Vulgar. You're the boss there. What, you want to go down yourself? Song Shuangyan ridiculed and then said seriously, I have an action plan. I found 7 or 8 inner strength experts and a master to carry it out. But the mission is a bit dangerous, so the reward is 5 billion. The Song family will pay the most, 3 billion. There are also a few partners. Don't think that 1 billion is a lot. It's not a lot at all. You paying 1 billion is simply insignificant. I don't know much. Those big families in Yanjing, in order to curry favor with Kong Teichu, each family will pay at least 10 billion. Li Yanmei clicked her tongue and said, I can guarantee that even if you only pay 1 billion, the effect will be 10 times or 100 times. After the mission, Kong Teichu will definitely treat us as his most powerful helpers. He might even turn us into a martial arts family. A martial arts family. That's reaching the heavens in one step. 1 billion it is. It doesn't matter, it's nothing. Li Yanmei immediately agreed and even smiled to express her gratitude. She didn't ask about the specific plan. She knew that even if she asked, Song Shuangyan wouldn't tell her. And she knew that Song Shuangyan was definitely not joking. She also trusted Song Shuangyan a lot. Song Shuangyan never did a losing deal. She was best at using 4 tails to win 1,000 caddies. Using small to win big, unconventional, and winning by surprise. 5 years ago, the 8th-ranked family in Yanjing, the Hu family, had a political and business war with the Song family. No one knew how the Song family operated, but it actually made the other big families extremely dissatisfied with the Hu family. They all joined the Song family's war. In the end, they actually tore the huge Hu family apart. The family head and a few core members were imprisoned, and the entire Hu's group was carved up. Others didn't know, but Li Yanmei knew that all of this was the result of Song Shuangyan's scheming behind the scenes. In that battle, the Song family successfully pushed 2 officials to the top and obtained tens of billions of funds in the capital market. The Song family was promoted to the 5th largest family in Yanjing. And Song Shuangyan's beautiful name of female Zhuge also began to spread in a small circle in Yanjing high society. After seeing Li Yanmei off, Song Shuangyan stood in the windy attic. Her pretty face was slightly cold. Looking down at the thick layer of ice on Kunming Lake, she muttered to herself in a voice that only she could hear. The Jiang family should have more than one piece of the incomplete map of the ruins of immortality. If we get a few more pieces from the Jiang family, plus the 3 pieces that our Song family has now, I think that Kang Taichu, and even the leaders of Mount Shu and Kunlun won't be able to resist this fatal temptation. Chapter 507. It was still the Wu family's mansion, still the same living room, still sitting around the round table, but this time, Wu Yingxiong was sitting at the head of the table. "Old Wu, what did you just say? Master Kong killed 11 immortals with 1 slash? He defeated the Bai family?" After listening to Wu Yingxiong's narration, Hua Wanfang was horrified and couldn't believe it. By then, the news of the battle on Xianglu Peak had finally reached the ears of the 2 sects in the southwest. When Jiang Tian destroyed the Gu God sect and was about to attack the Bai family in Yanjin, Hua Wanfang, the Grand Magus, Yun Yan, and Chen Xinyu all chose to stay away from the Bai family. That was understandable. According to the comparison of power at that time, the Bai family was backed by the Mount Shu sword sect and had 11 half-step immortal state warriors. According to the rumors, Jiang Tian had just entered the immortal state. Such provocation was tantamount to an ant trying to shake a tree. However, no one had expected that Jiang Tian would kill 11 immortals with 1 slash and drive the Bai family out of Huaxia. Why would I lie to you? Grandmaster Jiang had divided up the Bai family's wealth, and the amount of heavenly materials and earthly treasures was as vast as the sea. I can't even calculate the benefits. Wu Yingxiong took a sip of tea and said excitedly, "Did you know? Hua Qingtian, Zhao Yuankuan, and Wei Feilong have all reached the half-step immortal state level. If I follow Master Kong from now on, I will reach the half-step immortal state level or even the immortal state level." A trace of faintly discernible pride gradually climbed up the corners of his eyes and brows. He said smugly, "In Jinlin City, I was the coffin carrier. The 16 coffin bearers were all at the Grandmaster level. This represents the status of Huaxia in the Heavenly Alliance." Oh my God! Annihilating the Bai clan? Did this mean that the Jiang clan would become a martial arts clan in the future? Alas, in the end I was wrong. Hua Wanfang's heart was shaken, and she was also filled with deep regret. If he had more confidence in Master Jiang at that time, he could have become a member of the Heavenly Alliance and received great benefits. "Mom, I told you I wanted to follow Master Kong. But you treated me like a child. You didn't listen to me and even scolded me." Soundless Shadow was so angry that he stomped his feet and almost cried. "I really wanted to follow Master Kong, but my mother was holding me back." What adjudicator family! Why is it so troublesome? Wu Yingxiong was like a fox exploiting the tiger's might. He said in a showy manner, "Grandmaster Jiang is the biggest rich family, the biggest arbiter, and the only arbiter. In the future, you'll be a man of your word in Huaxia." That's true. He single-handedly slew 11 gods and destroyed the Bai clan. If that's not an arbiter, then what is? When everyone heard this, they all nodded in agreement. The great sorcerer sighed as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. He sighed deeply and said, "Alas, we have underestimated him after all. We have missed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This Grandmaster Jiang, TSK, is simply the most talented and most powerful cultivator in the past 1,000 years." Yun Yan rolled his eyes and leaned over to Wu Yingxiong. "Brother Wu, now that you've become Master Kang's favorite, you have to give us a hand. Do you think it's possible for us to join the Heavenly Alliance? Yes. As soon as these words came out, all the pairs of eyes looked at Wu Yingxiong in unison, full of begging and pleading expressions. Old Wu, your sister-in-law passed away many years ago and you didn't remarry. When your brother Ying passed away, he asked you to take care of me. You have to help me. Hua Wanfang walked behind him and massaged his shoulders and back with her tender hands. She leaned her full breasts on his back. Well, I'm afraid it's a little difficult. Grandmaster Zhang's standards are very high. Wu Yingxiong was extremely pleased. The pride in his heart did not need to be mentioned. It turned out that he was able to suppress Qin Sinyu and Yun Yen in the southwest region. However, he had to rely on Hua Wanfang and the Great Witch. He didn't even dare to offend their nephews. But now, look at how these people are bowing and groveling. Hua Wanfang is even throwing herself at me. She's quite big, soft, and fragrant. It turns out that you still think of yourself as noble and virtuous, ignoring me. But now, arrogant my ass. You're not worthy of me. I'm a member of the Heavenly Alliance now. In the martial arts world of Hua Xia, who could be more powerful than Master Kong? He's the arbiter of martial arts. At this moment, he made up his mind. No matter what, even if he had to climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a pot of boiling oil, he would follow Grandmaster Jiang to the end. In the meeting hall of Poyang Water Manor, many senior members of Zhao Yuankuan's family were excited and happy as if they were celebrating the new year. Master Kong has become the arbiter of martial arts. Our Zhao family can definitely stand shoulder to shoulder with the big families in Yanjing. We don't have to pay tribute to them in the future. We've spent a lot of natural treasures before. A bunch of idiots. That's all you've got. Zhao Yuankuan held a blue and white porcelain teacup and fiddled with the tea leaves floating on the tea with the lid. He said proudly, "Do you still want to pay tribute? The 6 families in Yanjing want to pay tribute to me. It depends on my mood whether I accept it or not." Dad, is it true? Zhao Hao was excited. Is our family so powerful now? Of course it's true. Your Uncle Hua, Uncle Wei, and I are the first people to follow Master Kong. Zhao Yuankuan sipped his tea and said, "He's the core of the Heavenly Alliance." The 6 families want AO to join the Heavenly Alliance, and they need me to recommend him. Otherwise, why would Grandmaster Jiang take another look at them? If Master Kong is the arbiter of martial arts, then I'm the top 3 executors. This scene was still happening in the Hua family, Wei family, Shenong school, and many other martial arts families and forces in Huaxia. Kong Teichu, the arbiter of martial arts in Huaxia. This new title was like a hurricane, and it quickly spread to all the martial arts families and forces in Huaxia. Those who heard it were all moved. Wuyang Mountain in Dianan. The lonely peak was like a sword that pierced the sky. It stood tall, surrounded by clouds and mist, and there were few people there. There were goshawks gliding and white cranes soaring in the sky. It was like a paradise on earth. In the depths of the mountains where the sea of clouds was surging, under the cover of a concealment array, there was a big house and palace with white walls and gray tiles. The rising eaves were surrounded by a circle of high walls, and the group of palaces formed the appearance of a village. At the entrance of the tall mountain, there was a 3-foot-high boulder, on which there were 2 big words, Dian Tsang. The handwriting was as red as blood, with iron hooks and silver strokes, vigorous and powerful, with extraordinary momentum. Inside the wall, on the bluestone-paved martial arts practice field, a group of disciples in Taoist robes were jumping up and down like agile monkeys, practicing sword techniques. When the sword was raised, it was like a dragon dancing, and the sword chi rushed to the sky. When the sword fell, the sword light flashed and the cold light flickered, like the Milky Way falling. When the body moved, it was like a dragon soaring and a tiger leaping, majestic like mountains and rivers. When the body stopped, it was like a deep abyss, lofty like a mountain. From the 2 small swords embroidered on the chest of their Taoist robes, it could be seen that they were only 2-star outer core disciples in the sect. If there were martial artists in the secular world here, they would definitely exclaim that the Dian Song sect was so powerful. The dozens of outer core disciples on the martial arts practice field were almost all transcendent state cultivators, and their sword arts were first class. They were definitely not first-class sword art masters in the secular world. In fact, the Wuliang Diansong sect was extremely powerful and was ranked as one of the 6 semi-hidden sects, second only to the 5 major sects of Kunlun, Mount Shu, Amei, Qingqing, Tianshan and Wudang. The strength of a single sect was enough to suppress the Bai family and the Huaxiaolong formation. As for the semi-hidden sects, most of them had hidden arrays, and few people knew about them and rarely visited the secular world. However, they were not completely isolated from the secular world, and some people in the secular world could still find them. This name was worthy of the name. A middle-aged man in a white Taoist robe with 8 small swords embroidered on the chest flew across the sky and landed on the martial arts practice field. His expression was stern and solemn as he walked towards a large hall with hurried footsteps. Elder Liang. Many of the disciples present were stunned. They held their swords in their left hands, the tip of the swords facing inward. They clasped their fists and bowed deeply. Elder Liang's name was Liang Zichen, and he was the elder of Diansong sect. He was responsible for teaching the disciples sword art and martial arts. He was at the immortal state phenomenal success. It was said that 10 years ago he had cut the Lansong River in half with a sword. 10 years ago, he had also killed an 80-foot-long dragon in the Black Dragon Pool. He had exchanged a lot of elixirs and cultivation resources for the sect. Well, continue. Ignoring these disciples, Liang Zichen nodded slightly. His footsteps did not stop, and instead he sped up. That's strange. Elder Liang has always been kind. Every time he sees us practicing, he would give us a few pointers. Why is he so angry this time? The disciples continued to practice their swordsmanship while whispering to each other. Yes, something big must have happened. Elder Liang has been away for a month this time. He rarely leaves the sect for such a long time. Another disciple said, could it be because of what happened on the peak of Mount Everest last time? He was killed by Kong Teju. A disciple suddenly changed his expression and exclaimed. Chapter 508. Shut up. Don't you know that Elder Liang will fly into a rage when you mention this? Do you want to be punished by the sect rules? Another disciple reprimanded in a low voice, his face pale. Last time, Liang Zichen's eldest disciple, Wang Haitao, led more than 10 junior brothers and sisters to the peak of Mount Everest to look for the princess flower. Originally, they were determined to get it, but they did not expect to return in failure. Moreover, 12 disciples were killed and 8 were seriously injured. Liang Zichen was furious and beat up anyone who mentioned it. Previously, a disciple was chatting when he asked when he would take revenge, but Liang Zichen broke his legs. So when this was mentioned, no one dared to say anything. The martial arts field returned to silence, and they continued to concentrate on practicing their swordsmanship. Walking into a dark and gloomy hall, Liang Zichen bowed deeply to a white-haired old man who was sitting cross-legged and said respectfully, Zichen greets the sect leader. This old man's hair and beard were silver, but his face was ruddy, without a single wrinkle, like a newborn baby. Elder Liang, please sit. The sect leader of Diansong, Zhou Zixuan, slowly opened his eyes. His eyes actually shot out bolts of lightning, making the void crackle. Electricity from the eyes, interfering with reality. The sect leader's cultivation seems to have improved a little. Liang Zichen's face lit up, and he sat down on the futon. Sigh, this old man feels that there is still a long way to go before I reach the immortal man realm. Zhou Zixuan shook his head sadly and sighed. The peak of the immortal man realm can live for 60 years, but I am already 150 years old. If I can't break through to the immortal man realm, I'm afraid I won't live for more than 3 years. Senior brother, Grandmaster once wrote in the Xiushui Pavilion sword washing record of 60 years, the gate of immortality is closed, the path of immortality is cut off, and there are no more immortals in the world. It can be seen that becoming an immortal is an illusory thing. The peak of the immortal man realm is already the highest level that humans can reach. You have already reached the peak, Why are you sad? Seeing this, Liang Zichen gently advised. But rumor has it that 800 years ago, 60 years after Grandmaster Xian reached the peak of the God realm, that is, at the age of 170 years old, he ascended in broad daylight from the bitter cold of the extreme north and became an immortal. Why is that? A trace of longing appeared in Zhou Zixuan's eyes. Without waiting for Liang Zichen's reply, he sighed with emotion. Ascension, immortality, immortality, immortality. Roaming the North Sea in the morning, covering the Kangwu tree in the night, the green snake in the sleeve is bold and bold. Entering Yuyang 3 times and not knowing anyone, flying across Dongting Lake with a clear voice. Being so free and unfettered, traversing the heavens and earth, possessing boundless strength, how much people yearn for this After he finished speaking, his eyes were lifeless, and he sat there like a piece of dead wood. Looking at the falling leaves outside the window and the churning sea of clouds that changed in an instant, he smiled bitterly. Look at the leaves of this loquat tree. When the wind blows, they fall like rain and are trampled into dust by us. The leaf's lifespan was only a few months. I'm afraid it's looking at us like we're gods. Yeah, maybe the immortals look at us like these leaves and branches. Liang Zichen also showed a trace of sadness. Zhou Zixuan couldn't help but sigh with emotion. As the saying goes, mushrooms in the morning don't know the end of the month, and crickets don't know the spring and autumn. Chu Jinan has a netherworld spirit cultivator. 500 years old is spring and 500 years old is autumn. Those who have a large spring in the world regard 8,000 years old as spring and 8,000 years old as autumn. And Peng Zhu has long been heard of. Compared to them, we are nothing. Don't you feel sad? Senior brother, you're right. Liang Zichen's face became serious and he bowed deeply. Zhou Zixuan sat there motionlessly and was silent for a long time. Then, he pulled himself out of the sadness and smiled. Junior brother Liang, you wouldn't easily disturb my cultivation. Could it be that you've come here for some important matter? Senior brother, do you still remember the elite inner disciple Wang Haitao and a dozen other disciples who were killed on the peak of Mount Everest? Liang Zichen's eyes became cold and asked. I remember that kid was very diligent, but his talent was a bit lacking. Zhou Zixuan nodded, but didn't say anything else. The murderer is called Kong Teichu. I've already investigated all his information. He's an expert in the secular world. Someone from the secular world. Zhou Zixuan's face changed slightly and sighed. It's been a long time since there was an expert in the secular world. I met by Tianlei and Hao Hongmei in the Republic of China, and Yi Tianren and other experts. They were all very talented. However, their desire for fame and fortune was too heavy. They couldn't bear the loneliness of cultivation and were all delayed by the trivial matters of the secular world. A deep regret appeared on his face. He shook his head and sighed. Especially the Bai couple. Their hearts are burning in their old age and they don't forget honor and disgrace. Liang Zichen said anxiously, Sect Master, we have to take revenge for this blood feud. Otherwise, how can our Dian-song stand among the semi-hidden sects? We'll be laughed at by the world. Junior brother Liang, if you don't forget honor and disgrace, I'm afraid you'll lose your mind if you're tied down by the secular world. Zhou Zixuan said earnestly. Yes, senior brother. Zichen will follow master's instructions. Liang Zichen's face turned slightly serious. He bowed his head and admitted his mistake. Then he said slowly that Kong Teichu killed 11 deities in a row on Xianglu Peak. He has become the #1 martial artist in the secular world and is known as the martial arts arbiter. Killed 11 deities in a row? Does that include Bai Tianlei and his wife and the 9 half-step immortal state warriors of Shu Mountain? Zhou Zixuan's face finally changed. He frowned and said in a deep voice, that should be the peak of the immortal state. But how is that possible? People in the secular world are shameless, chasing after fame and fortune. Their minds are messy and their minds are not firm. Their mental strength alone will become a huge shackle. I heard that this person is only in his 20s. Liang Zichen's face was strange, and his voice was hoarse and dry. Peak of the immortal state in his 20s. How is that possible? Zhou Zishuan's face changed drastically. He frowned and thought deeply. Then his pupils suddenly shrank, and his face was full of excitement and ecstasy. Could it be that he's from that place? Could it be that the immortal gate has opened again? Senior brother, I also think so. Otherwise, why would I disturb your cultivation for such a trivial matter? If this man is really from that place, why are we looking for the incomplete map? Just let him lead the way. Zhou Zishuan rumbled. He stood up, and a monstrous pressure instantly enveloped the entire Wuliang mountain. He said with great power, Elder Liang, summon all the elders and masters above the immortal state for a meeting. The old man wants to meet this Kong Teichu in person. Diansong sect leader, who had been in seclusion for 58 years, was going to come out. For a moment, the entire Diansong sect was alarmed, and the three words, Kong Teichu, entered the sight of many hidden sects for the first time. At this time, Jiang Tian had already arrived at Yuhua Villa with Jiang Wan on his back, surrounded by Zhao Xueqing, Huang Linger and other girls. It was already late winter, and the new year was approaching. Heavy snow was falling from the lead gray sky, and the whole villa was wrapped in silver, like a jade palace in a fairyland. Master Kong, you're finally here. I was worried that you wouldn't come. Seeing Jiang Tian enter the door, Chen Zifen, like a loyal dog, came to greet him and said happily, "Don't let anyone in. I want to cultivate in seclusion." Jiang Tian's words almost made Chen Zifen choke to death. He had summoned the heads of the other 5 families and arranged a Manchu Han imperial banquet in Wangjiang restaurant. He also wanted to establish a relationship with Master Kong. After all, he had met Master Kong a few days ago at the funeral, and Master Kong was in a rage, so it was not convenient for him to say a lot of things. But now, their efforts were in vain. Oh my God! Cousin, this place is so beautiful, like a royal garden. Empress Dowager used to live here. Jiang Bangxia looked at it in amazement. Her beautiful eyes were wide open, and her eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Originally, she thought that Jiang Tian got a villa from the Bai family, which was worth tens of millions, or a few hundred million at most. But this was not a villa, it was definitely a manor. With her good eyesight, she could see that this was definitely a royal garden, and it had a long history. Any object could be exchanged for a villa. Miss Jiang, you're right. This was the residence of the great ancestor. Chen Zifen introduced. To be honest, he was also very envious. It was said that when the Bai family bought this manor, they spent tens of billions, and this was still a bargain. But Master Kong took it as if he was taking something out of his pocket. Thinking that he only earned a few billion a year, he felt that he couldn't compare. Young Master Zifen, please show me around. I want to choose a room. Jiang Bangxia said happily. Okay, Miss Jiang, please follow me. Chen Zifen bent over and made a gesture of invitation, leading the way like a loyal servant. The spiritual qi here is so abundant. Zhao Xueqing took a deep breath and said with a look of intoxication. Jiang Wan ran happily in the snow, and Jiang Bangxia and Yi Ziwei went to see the new house. This is the Dragon Marrow spiritual vein. This fragrant mountain is called the Mountain of Emperors. The spiritual qi here is enough for you and me to break through several times. Jiang Tian took Qing'er and Ling to the Shuangqing Villa to see the 2 spiritual springs. Oh my God! Is this the spiritual vein? 100 times richer than the array of Mount Fu Long. Zhao Xueqing only felt refreshed. Her beautiful eyes were wide open, and her face was full of shock. The Shuangqing spring was full of clouds and even filled with a strange luster. It was colorful like a faint rainbow. Yes, without this dragon marrow spiritual vein, how could the idiot couple of the Bai family break through to the peak of the immortal state? Jiang Tian exclaimed. This spiritual vein was considered an inferior grade spiritual vein even in the cultivation realm. However, it was relatively short, only a few hundred meters deep. However, just as Qing'er had said, the spirit qi it contained far exceeded the spirit qi gathered by the hidden Dragon Mountain formation. Then I'll go cultivate. This is so rare. Qing'er smiled and walked to the octagonal pavilion. She sat cross-legged and immersed herself in cultivation. I'll go cultivate with Sister Qing'er too. Huang Linger was also a little excited. Ling, don't be in a hurry to absorb the spiritual qi. What you need more now is to learn how to use your true essence. Jiang Tian pulled her to the front yard. Jiang Tian, I can't cultivate, right? I can feel the qi in my body, but I can't break out of it. I can't fly in the sky like you and Sister Qing. Huang Linger said bitterly. No, there's no problem with your body. It's an extremely rare Yi-Wood spiritual body that has both combat and healing abilities. Jiang Tian smiled and said, you just need to use the right cultivation technique, and you can shine with the same combat power as me and Sister Qing. Really? Huang Linger's face was full of anticipation. Chapter 509. In fact, Huang Linger was just a spiritual body. In other words, she had the foundation for cultivation. Compared with Qing'er's immortal body and Jiang Tian's divine body, there was still a big gap. However, she could not match Jiang Tian's top-level cultivation method. Jiang Tian had already thought about the problem of what cultivation method she should cultivate. At this moment, he made a prompt decision and said, I will teach you the divine withering technique. Divine withering technique? This name is quite nice. Huang Linger's eyes had a trace of expectation. In these days, Qing'er had also roughly told her about Jiang Tian's ability and experience, especially the benefits of cultivation. Cultivators had unpredictable magic power and amazing martial arts. They could obtain worldly wealth and status, be respected by tens of thousands of people, and even transcend the mortal world and become immortals. Of course, this was very, very good. However, what Huang Linger cared about the most was that after she became a cultivator, she would be able to fight side by side with Jiang Tian and would no longer be a burden to him. Divine withering technique contains the truth of heaven and earth and integrates the way of life and death of all things in heaven and earth. From 1 withering and 1 flourishing to 9 withering and 1 flourishing, there are a total of 9 cycles of life and death. Every time you comprehend a level, your strength will be stronger by 1 level. Jiang Tian said slightly and began to teach Ling, the cultivation method. It could be said that this cultivation method was tailor-made for Ling. She had a Yi-Wood spiritual body and a natural ability to sense the growth and death of all things in heaven and earth. She could comprehensively and deeply understand this cultivation method, as if she had the help of God. The way of withering, you absorb the wood element aura of heaven and earth into your body. All things wither and endlessly fall. The way of raging, you spit out Yi-Wood vital essence and combine it with spells or magic treasures. You can nourish and kill. Life and death are controlled by your heart. Endless vital essence comes rolling in. This cultivation method was a combination of breathing, condensing vital essence, and martial arts. It could be said that it was unfathomable. It had a very strong foundation and contained many possibilities and changes. It could allow Ling to cultivate for a lifetime. Jiang Tian's explanation was simple and easy to understand. Even though Huang Linger was just a beginner on the road of cultivation, she could quickly comprehend it. Back then in the starry sky, he had countless disciples and created countless immortal venerables. There were many who had excellent talent and comprehension, but there were also many who had poor aptitudes. Therefore, he was the best at imparting cultivation techniques. These words were spoken with great eloquence, making Huang Linger feel as if she had been enlightened. In the next 2 days, Jiang Tian and Yi Ziwei went to Yanjing to handle some matters, such as the registration of Yaowang Holdings, the location of the new office building, and the purchase and decoration of the new office building. On the other hand, Jiang Tian focused on guiding the cultivation of Qing'er and Linger. The 3rd morning, Jiang Tian got up and went to the courtyard. He found that Huang Linger had already comprehended the cycle of life and death. Her body was full of Zhenyuan and she was very beautiful. He was immediately delighted. He walked up slowly and took out a withered wooden stick from his storage ring. He smiled and said, Linger, this is for you. This little wooden stick is so cute. It looks just like Harry Potter's magic wand. Huang Linger accepted the wooden stick with an elated expression and played with it lovingly. Harry Potter's magic wand? Just think of it as a magic wand. It really has magic. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. He looked at Huang Linger's innocent face and a gratified smile appeared on his face. This was actually Hao Hongmei's walking stick. It was a piece of divine wood of heavenly origin. It was a heavenly treasure and was priceless. However, it was too strange for Linger to hold a walking stick at such a young age. Therefore, Jiang Tian sacrificially refined it several times and added many arrays and runes. It became a slender wooden stick that was 1 foot long. It was quite beautiful and easy to hold. What kind of magic does it have? Let me try. Huang Linger smiled mischievously and waved the walking stick. Only a hissing sound could be heard. There was a sharp sound. A jade-green vine broke through the air and smashed a rockery into smithereens, causing stone fragments to fly in all directions. Why did it explode? Huang Linger screamed in shock and subconsciously burrowed into Jiang Tian's arms. It's okay. You'll get used to it. You just used the first style of wood thorn. Jiang Tian smiled and patted her soft shoulder. He was very satisfied with Huang Linger's performance. It could be said that with her current cultivation level, she could easily crush a martial arts grandmaster or a perfected cultivator at the peak of the transcendent state. She could even fight a half-step immortal state cultivator. Oh my god, did I do that? I really know magic. No, it's more powerful than magic. Huang Linger couldn't believe it. She jumped and cheered in the snow, as if she had won a grand prize of several $1 million. Jiang Tian smiled and encouraged her, don't be afraid. Try, take root, grab the soil, twine, crazy growth, shade, flying flower, and result. Then, under the guidance of Jiang Tian, Huang Linger's control of the wood true essence and the wood element between heaven and earth was getting better and better. Unknowingly, it was already noon. At this time, Jiang Tian's cell phone rang. He looked at it and found it was from his cousin, Zhang Yilin. This girl, she doesn't know that I'm in Yanjin. Did mom tell her? Jiang Tian answered the phone. Cousin, can you come to Yanjin? Zhang Yilin's voice sounded like she was about to cry. She was very anxious. What's wrong? Jiang Tian was surprised. Grandpa found out that I stole the Vitality Jade charm. I gave them the Jade Essence charm you gave me, but they didn't believe me. They want to punish me according to the family rules. At this time, a majestic and angry voice came from the phone. Zhang Yilin, come out now. Do you think you can hide from them? Break the door. Break the door. Then, the phone was cut off amidst the crash and Zhang Yilin's screams and begging. The Zhang family is really stupid. Jiang Tian's face was filled with anger and he rushed out of the door. The family rules of the Zhang family were not a joke. It was very likely that Zhang Yilin would be beaten half to death. Master Kong, where are you going? I'll send you there. When Chen Zifan came in, he saw Jiang Tian was about to kill someone. His aura was very violent, and he was immediately shocked. Jiang Tian originally wanted to go there on his flying sword. However, he knew that Yanjin was an important place in the capital. The air traffic control was very strict. If he flew like this, it might cause chaos among the military and police. He would have to trouble Elder Chow later. Thinking of this, he turned around and said, Zifan, send me out. I need to take care of a few people. Okay. Chen Zifan was overjoyed. Finally, he could work for Master Kong again. Chen Zifan's car was a red Bugatti Veyron Hermes Special from 2009. It was priced at 43 million. Suddenly, it turned into a dazzling flame and headed towards the Zhang family. The Zhang family of Yanjin? Hearing that he was going to the Zhang family in Beijing, Chen Zifan curled his lips and said with righteous indignation, a secular family that is ranked in the top 10 in Beijing dares to provoke Master Jiang. You don't have to do it, I can destroy them with a phone call. Hee, that's my grandfather's family. Of course they dare to mess with me. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. He looked displeased. Other than his fourth uncle and Zhang Yilin, he did not have a good impression of his grandfather's family. In the eyes of the Zhang family, he was afraid that they had never seen him as their grandson. "Oh, looks like Master Kong is not very satisfied with my grandfather's family." Qin Zifan immediately paid attention. However, Master Kong should be very nice to his cousin named Zhang Yilin. It only took an hour for the Bugatti Veyron to arrive at the Zhang family's gate. Jiang Tian scanned the area with his divine sense and saw Zhang Yilin kneeling in the courtyard of the Zhang family's ancestral hall. Her hair was disheveled and her hands were tied behind her back. She was trembling and on the verge of collapsing. In the dead of winter, the temperature was a few degrees below zero. However, she was only wearing a shirt. The shirt was torn by the whip and there were many whip marks on it. His hair was covered with white frost, and his skin was also green and purple from the cold. It's been an hour and Yilin is still being tortured by these bastards. She is still wearing a protective jade talisman. The Zhang family is really good at dealing with their own people. Jiang Tian cast an invisibility talisman on himself and rushed into the Zhang family's mansion like a gust of wind. In fact, the Zhang family was too ruthless. They simply beat Zhang Yilin to death. If it wasn't for the protective jade essence talisman, Zhang Yilin would have died a violent death. Jiang Tian suddenly appeared at the entrance of the ancestral hall. When the two guards saw Jiang Tian suddenly appear, they pulled out their batons and shouted, "Who are you? Get out." The Zhang clan's ancestral hall is an important place. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. Jiang Tian did not say anything. Papa. Two large slaps sent the two of them flying, and they fell to the ground unconscious. Bang! Jiang Tian kicked the wooden door of the ancestral hall to pieces and rushed in. Seeing this, Zhang Yilin's spirit relaxed, and her small mouth flattened in grievance. With tears in her eyes, she called out, "Cousin, you're finally here." Then she fainted. Jiang Tian rushed over and hugged her, thinking that if he had come an hour later, Zhang Yilin might have been tortured to death by them. With a sound, Jiang Tian cut the ropes on her body with his palm. Then, he took off his windbreaker and wrapped it around her. He fed her a spirit-nurturing pill and a few healing pills, and injected a stream of true essence into her body to nourish her body and refine the pills. "Brother, what kind of medicine is this? I feel so comfortable." Zhang Yilin slowly opened her eyes. She only felt warm all over and her skin was itchy. She focused her eyes and saw that the scar on her leg had healed. She felt that it was too magical, and she admired Jiang Tian to the extreme. "Let's go. I'll take you away. Leave the Zhang family and never come back, okay?" Jiang Tian's heart burned with anger, and he couldn't control it. He helped Zhang Yilin up and walked out of the door. He couldn't stay here. Jiang Tian was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself and would destroy the Zhang family. Chapter 5:10. In his 10,000 years of cultivation, Jiang Tian was extremely indifferent to family ties. After the soul formation stage, 3,000 years of spring, 3,000 years of autumn, and 10,000 years of spring could be considered as spring and autumn. Mortals would turn into a pile of yellow soil in 100 years. Compared to the technological culture on Earth, cultivation belonged to a completely different civilization. When Jiang Tian was roaming the universe, he once saw a god-level almighty using a magic tool called splashing ink. In just a few hours, he was able to two-dimensionalize a star field, turning it into a corner of a bright star map on a magic tool. Strictly speaking, ordinary humans and cultivators belonged to different levels of life, such as blood relations. It was very common for cultivators to recultivate or reconstruct their bodies. What did blood relations matter? Therefore, since Jiang Tian's rebirth, he only cared about those who cared about him and whom he owed. Zhao Xueqing, Jiang Changing, Jiang Zhixing, Zhang Wanqing, Huang Linger, and so on. In the Zhang family, only Zhang Yilin and his fourth uncle gave Jiang Tian a trace of familial ties. As for the others, in Jiang Tian's eyes, they were strangers. However, Jiang Tian knew that although his mother was dissatisfied with the Zhang family, she still cared about these relatives. As the saying goes, because you care, you care. There was no need to guess that his mother would absolutely not accept him killing a member of the Zhang family. Brother, take me away. Even if I have to eat rice and vegetables with you, I'll be happy. I don't want to stay in this terrible family anymore. After saying this, Zhang Yilin's tears rolled down. She tightly held onto Jiang Tian's hand and didn't let go. It was as if she was holding onto a life-saving straw. For you. How dare you let this evil beast go? You even dared to injure the guards. Do you want to die? Just as Jiang Tian walked out of the ancestral hall, a middle-aged man who looked like a housekeeper heard the commotion and came over. He pulled out a pistol and pointed it at Jiang Tian. He angrily said, "Let him go. Otherwise, I'll kill you." Jiang Tian cultivated non-stop. After condensing the gung metal divine body, he already had two appearances. The appearance he used in the secular world was also somewhat beautified and changed. Moreover, after he became a cultivator, his temperament was completely different. He was as handsome as a god. Therefore, Tian Jiaqing, the chief steward of the Zhang family, did not recognize Jiang Tian at all. "I'm Jiang Tian, Jin Ling's Jiang family, Zhang Wanqing's son. Put down the gun." Jiang Tian frowned and shouted, "Oh, it's you." Unexpectedly, when Tian Jiaqing heard this, he became even more disdainful. He said arrogantly, full of disdain, "What a good-for-nothing. You started stealing money from the Zhang family when you were 8 years old. You didn't expect that you would become worse now. So Zhang Yilin stole all the money for you to spend. It seems like this Vitality Jade talisman was stolen by you as well. You guys really stole needles when you were young and stole gold when you grew up. As expected of the bastards raised by Zhang Wanqing who stole people." Someone, before he could finish, his voice stopped abruptly. Jiang Tian's finger beam had already missed. Bang! Tian Jiaqing was knocked over 10 meters away. He crashed into two guards who were rushing to the scene and rolled to the ground. His ribs were caved in and blood spurted out from his mouth. He passed out and no one knew if he was dead or alive. "Steward Tian, take him down. Don't let him get away. How dare he cause trouble in the Zhang family? Kill him." The guards who were rushing to the scene immediately pounced on Jiang Tian. Some of them swung their batons at him while others swung their swords at him. The Zhang family was one of the top 20 families in the mortal world. The old man of the Zhang family used to work in the Central Advisory Committee and was an assistant and advisor to the government council. He was on good terms with many leaders and Yuan Sun. Zhang Zhonghua was also one of the most powerful men in Yanjin. In the eyes of these guards, the Zhang family was a powerful family. Who would dare to mess with the Zhang family? In a blink of an eye, their faces were contorted in anger as they swung their weapons at Jiang Tian. Bang! 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 Jiang Tian's legs were as fast as lightning. In less than a minute, all the guards were lying on the ground. "Cousin, that's amazing. Is that the Foshan Shadowless kick?" Zhang Yilin clapped her hands and cheered. Her eyes were filled with excitement as she felt a sense of security. In fact, Jiang Tian had purposely suppressed his cultivation to the middle stage of the iron body stage. Otherwise, how could these people survive if he used his chi weapon? However, Jiang Tian's punches and kicks were clean and efficient. To Zhang Yilin, it was even more pleasing to watch. Martial artist? Iron body or internal force? At this moment, a faint voice came from the door. Uncle Fu, who was wearing a white training suit, walked in energetically. Jiang Tian recognized Uncle Fu and knew that he had a high status in the Zhang family. Therefore, he suppressed his anger and did not act rashly. He cupped his hands and said, "Uncle Fu, I'm Jiang Tian from the Jiang family, Zhang Wanqing's son." "Oh, so you're Wanqing's son." Uncle Fu looked at Jiang Tian carefully and was secretly amazed. The Jiang family was just an ordinary family. Moreover, Jiang Tian was a good-for-nothing. How could he learn martial arts? For a moment, he was too lazy to think about it. He frowned and said, "But you can't destroy the ancestral hall of the Zhang family, and you can't beat people up. That recuperation jade charm was indeed stolen by Zhang Yilin to save me. However, I'll take responsibility until the end. I've already asked her to give a recuperation jade essence charm to the Zhang family as compensation. Jiang Tian glanced at Zhang Yilin. Zhang Yilin quickly said, "It's the jade essence charm I gave Grandpa." Jiang Tian suppressed his anger and said with a kind face, "That jade essence charm is 10 times or 100 times better than ordinary jade essence charms. Now that Zhang Yilin has been punished, I'll take her away first. As for the rest, I'll talk to the Zhang family slowly." He walked away. "Jiang, stop right there." Uncle Fu stared at Jiang Tian with disdain and sneered, "A jade essence charm is worth at least 100 million, and it's priceless. How can a good-for-nothing like you find it? Even if you found it, would you be willing to give it to the Zhang family? You're spouting nonsense. Have you not recovered from your mental illness? If you don't believe me, you can find a Taoist or ethereal enlightenment expert to appraise it. However, you don't have the right to imprison Zhang Yilin." Jiang Tian didn't stop walking. He strode toward the main gate. "Don't even think about leaving. Hand over the recuperation jade charm. Otherwise, I'll take your life. You still want to leave? You little bastard, I think you're a pig. You don't learn from your mistakes." Uncle Fu scolded. Seeing that Jiang Tian was ignoring him, he couldn't help but be furious. He actually attacked in an instant. He pulled out a 3-meter-long soft whip from his waist, and with a whoosh, swept it towards Jiang Tian's neck. This attack was filled with the shadow of the whip and the wind howled. It was actually infused with abundant inner strength. If Jiang Tian was an ordinary person, there was no way he could resist this whip. He would either die or be crippled. Perhaps because of the influence of Zhang Jinghua and the others, Uncle Fu had never cared about Jiang Tian's life. Even if he couldn't kill him, he could still injure him. The Jiang family wouldn't dare to do anything to him. "Old man, I've already said so much, but you still want to die. Looks like if I don't show you what I'm made of, you won't know that I'm a dye house owner." Jiang Tian raised his hand lightly and clamped the whip between 2 fingers. No one saw how Jiang Tian moved, but the entire whip made of tiger tendon, mulberry silk, and soft gold suddenly exploded like a firecracker. The explosion started from the tip of the whip and spread all the way to the handle, turning everything into powder. The silk floated up like catkins. Uncle Fu's arm was numb from the shock, and blood flowed out from the web between his thumb and forefinger. He subconsciously took a step back. His face was pale, and he broke out in a cold sweat. He looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. "You? What is your cultivation level?" Jiang Tian's cultivation level was so unfathomable that he couldn't guess Jiang Tian's true cultivation level. But he was sure that Jiang Tian's cultivation level was definitely above the transcendent state. Killing him was like playing a game. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but tremble all over. However, he couldn't understand. Jiang Tian was just an ordinary person who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. It could even be said that his physical condition was extremely poor. He heard that later on, he even went crazy. How could he suddenly become a transcendent state master? How was this possible? Take my life? Ah, you're the old dog. You're just a dog guarding the house. Don't you know your identity? Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back and looked at Uncle Fu lazily. He said disdainfully, "Did you really want to kill me just now?" I just wanted to injure you and cripple you. I don't dare to kill you. Let me go." Everyone saw with disbelief that the Zhang clan's Uncle Fu, who was filled with arrogance and whose words carried enormous weight, and could be called the second patriarch, had actually bent his knees and knelt on the ground, and he shamelessly kowtowed and begged for mercy to Jiang Tian. "Okay, I won't kill you. If you cripple me, I'll destroy your cultivation." Jiang Tian's finger light missed. Uncle Fu only saw a flash of golden light in front of his eyes, and a burst of blood burst out from his chest. The vital acupoints in his chest were instantly shattered, and he couldn't dodge. Condense chi into a weapon. Condense chi into a weapon. He's a grandmaster? Uncle Fu felt a chill in his heart and his whole body was cold. He couldn't help but tremble. Jiang Tian and Zhang Yilin had disappeared in front of him. "Master, you're hurt. Who did it? I'm going to kill him." A young man in his 20s ran up to him and shouted angrily. "Let's go! Take me away! We'll run as far away as we can. The Zhang family is doomed." With the help of his disciples, Uncle Fu endured the intense pain, his face full of fear, and hurriedly walked out of the mansion. A transcendent master. The Zhang family couldn't take it anymore. He had been serving the Zhang family for decades and had already repaid his debt. There was no need for him to work for them anymore. He sighed in his heart. It was better to bully an old man than a poor young man. Zhang Jinghua could only blame himself for being blind. He couldn't see that his grandson was actually a cultivation genius. He even wanted to rob the Jiang family of their assets. What? That bastard from the Jiang family? In the main hall, Zhang Jinghua heard the report from his subordinate and said angrily, "He was the one who instigated Zhang Yilin to steal the Vitality Jade charm. That scourge, that bastard. How many more years will he harm the Zhang family?" Chapter 511. Su Shulan was fiddling with the Buddha beads in front of her chest. She was chanting Amitabha, but her mouth was full of disdain. Humph! Dragons give birth to dragons and phoenixes give birth to phoenixes. His father and mother are both good-for-nothings. How good can he be? She had a head full of silver hair and looked kind, but she was mean and vicious in her actions. She said fiercely, "If you ask me, we should just beat him to death or cripple him, so that he won't cause any more trouble. If he hadn't stolen the Vitality Jade charm, it would have been easier for us to curry favor with Kong Teichu. Uncle Fu and the guards have been there for so long, why haven't they taken him down yet? Qingji, go and have a look." Zhang Jinghua forced himself to calm down and said coldly, "Whether Jiang Tian stole the Vitality Jade charm or not, he should be crippled for kicking down the door of the ancestral hall." Yes, that's it. Not only would sacrificing this kind of trash have no effect on the Zhang family, but it would also form a powerful deterrent to the Jiang family in Jinling, forcing them to obediently hand over the money. It would also curry favor with the Song family in Yanjing, who had always been unhappy with the Jiang family. "Don't bother. I'm here." Suddenly, a faint voice came from the door. The Zhang family turned around and saw Jiang Tian holding Zhang Yilin's hand and walking in lazily. "Jiang Tian, when you see your elders, you don't even greet them as your grandparents? You really don't have the upbringing of a big family. You have life but no one teaches you." The third brother, Zhang Qingji, pointed at Jiang Tian and scolded. His voice was stern and angry. "Humph, you're just like your mother. You have no respect for your elders, you forget your ancestors, and you're even worse than an animal. Kneel down and admit your mistake." The moment Jiang Tian entered, he had an arrogant appearance, not even looking at everyone properly, extremely arrogant. He was not the only one who was angry. Zhang Zhonghua, Zhang Qinggong, Zhang Danfeng, Zhang Yue and the other juniors all glared at Jiang Tian. "Troublemaker! Troublemaker! Our family is so unfortunate." Zhang Jinghua's face was as gloomy as water. Su Shulan was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She almost crushed her prayer beads. On the other hand, Zhang Danfeng seemed to be more shrewd than in his previous life. His expression was very calm as he examined Jiang Tian. "If I remember correctly, when I offended the Song family a few years ago, you announced that you were cutting ties with my mother, right? If you don't recognize us, why should I recognize you?" Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said lazily, What did you say? You're actually so arrogant." Zhang Qingji's face stiffened. He was speechless and greatly surprised. In his mind, the Jiang clan should curry favor with the Zhang clan. After all, just like what Su Shulan and Zhang Danfeng had said, the Zhang family dominated Yanjing and had a lot of political resources, which was what the Jiang family lacked the most. In his opinion, not only was Jiang Tian ignorant and incompetent, he was also extremely cowardly and spineless. Previously, when the Zhang clan came to ask for help because they had offended the Song family, Jiang Tian cried his eyes out. It was hilarious. That was why he berated Jiang Tian so arrogantly and domineeringly, and even scolded Zhang Wanqing. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would be so domineering and arrogant when he entered the house? He waved his hand and cut off the blood ties, making him unable to say what he wanted to say. That's why I'm pissed when you say that I'm uneducated and have no one to teach me. My mother is still alive and she has been teaching me. I'm not a beast. If you want to talk about beasts, then you are the real beasts. Jiang Tian's voice was cold. He moved his body and slapped Zhang Qingji's face. Swish. Zhang Qingji flew 8 meters away and smashed the coffee table into pieces before he fell to the ground. 2 of his teeth flew out and blood flowed out of his mouth. What? I'm your uncle. How dare you hit me like that? Preposterous, preposterous. Everyone exclaimed in shock and disbelief. Zhang Qingji covered his face and pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted, "Ha, have you forgotten? Our families have already broken off ties. Now you remember that you are my uncle?" Jiang Tian looked relaxed. He walked over as if he was taking a stroll in the park and stepped on Zhang Qingji's face. Zhang Qingji's face was in close contact with the floor. "Madman! Evil! Hurry up and get Uncle Fu here. Beat this kid up and throw him out." At this time, not to mention the others, even the shrewd Zhang Jinghua could not sit still and shouted furiously. He was so angry that his body trembled like a sieve and he was about to faint. Jiang Tian was impulsive and easily angered. He had offended the Song family and made a grave mistake. A few years had passed since then. He did not expect that not only did he not restrain himself, but he had become even more unscrupulous. Not only did the kid disrespect his elders, he even dared to beat up his third brother. That was his uncle. This was simply disgraceful and arrogant to the extreme. He was crazy. "Patriarch, this is bad. This is bad. More than 20 guards are down." Uncle Fu was injured by that guy and ran away with his disciples. A guard frantically ran in to report the news, but immediately after, he saw the scene of Jiang Tian trampling on Zhang Qingji. He was stunned for a moment. He felt a chill run down his spine and the long saber in his hand clanged. It fell to the ground with a clang. Zhang Qingji. He was a well-known figure in Yanjin. He worked in the National Security Bureau and held a high position. Even the feudal officials had to avoid him. Other than Zhang Zhonghua, he had the highest status in their generation. However, that kid was stepping on him. "Get out!" Zhang Jinghua was slightly taken aback when he heard that. He waved his hand and dismissed the guard. Zhang Jinghua had been in politics for many years. Under his leadership, the Zhang family had been able to stand tall in Yanjin for decades. Moreover, his descendants had all developed their own careers. They had united around him and formed a sizable family. That fully showed that Zhang Jinghua was not a mediocre person. In fact, he was very shrewd and shrewd. In just a few seconds, he realized that Jiang Tian had undergone a huge change. He had become a martial artist and a powerhouse who could defeat Uncle Fu. He had become a martial artist. The Jiang family was willing to spend a lot of money. It made sense. Jiang Tian was ignorant and incompetent. He had only studied in a third-tier university. He could not run a business, so he could only walk the path of martial arts. Yes, he had figured out part of the truth. However, in the next moment, his train of thought deviated. He did not connect Jiang Tian with powerhouses like Master Kong and Kong Teichu. After all, the two were too far apart. He only thought that the Jiang family had spent a lot of money to buy resources and hire famous teachers. They had forcefully turned Jiang Tian into a martial arts powerhouse. "Zhang Jinghua, I did hit someone. How are you going to punish me?" Jiang Tian stepped on him a few more times before lazily lifting his foot. Zhang Qingji was so angry that he fainted. What did you say?" Before Zhang Jinghua could think of a way to deal with it, Jiang Tian suddenly stomped his foot on Zhang Jinghua's face. "I'll show you." Crack. There was a hair-raising crisp sound. Zhang Qingji screamed. His leg bone was directly broken, and it was a comminuted fracture. It seemed that he would either have to use crutches or be friends with wheelchairs for the rest of his life. Jiang Tian originally wanted to find Zhang Jinghua to explain. They knew the value of the Jade Essence Talisman. If he took Zhang Yilin and fourth uncle's family away, this matter would be over. In his opinion, even if fourth uncle's family was useless, he could afford to raise them. He had to raise them. He wanted to repay the kindness of fourth uncle's family. However, he did not expect to see Zhang Jinghua and his wife say that they wanted to cripple him on the way here. His anger immediately rose. These two old guys are quite ruthless. Fine, if you treat me as an enemy, then I'll treat you as an enemy. I'm not afraid of you. You? Zhang Jinghua pointed at Jiang Tian with one hand and covered his chest with the other. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. His high blood pressure was almost acting up. Third brother, Su Shulan slapped her thigh. Snot and tears flowed down her face. She lamented the misfortune of raising a group of ingrates. Jiangdan, you're too arrogant. Zhang Yue and the others' expressions were ugly. They were unable to restrain their anger, but they did not dare to say anything. As for Zhang Danfeng, he went to the side to call for help. Although they were angry, they knew that Jiang Tian was a martial artist. They could not deal with such a person. Maybe Jiang Tian would take care of them as well. Jiang Tian, stop it. Do you think you're so great just because you have a few tricks up your sleeves? I once participated in Zhan Long's special recruitment. I know some of Zhan Long's friends and I even went for special training. I know a lot of martial artists in Yanjin. As long as I'm willing to pay, I'll kill you. Only a young man in his 20s stepped out from the crowd, pointing at Jiang Tian and Zhang Yilin and yelling furiously. The young man was tall and had a crew cut. He wore a large gold chain around his neck. His face was full of lumps and he had an arrogant and ruthless temperament. Zhang Danfeng's temperament was completely different from the scholarly Zhang Yue. Jiang Tian knew this person. He was Zhang Qingji's son, Zhang Huchen. If he remembered correctly, he should have retired from the Eastern Swordsman Special Forces of the National Security Agency. He should be managing some of the Zhang family's entertainment businesses. He seemed to be the controller of the Crown Prince Hotel. Of course, the Eastern Swordsman Special Forces could not be compared to Zhan Long. After all, they were in the Special Forces. They were better at tracking and eavesdropping. Now, in order to make full use of the precious legacy left by Jiang Tian in Zhan Long, the Zhan Long Special Forces had become a melting pot for all major military regions, armed police forces, and even national security agencies to sharpen their sharp soldiers. They opened the door and carried out special training wave after wave. Zhang Huchen was known as the local bully in the Zhang family. He relied on his little power to bully men and women and did all kinds of evil. When he was in high school, he had forced several female students in art schools, but his father used his power to settle it. After being grounded for a few months, he came out again and bullied people again. He became even worse. He had a bad reputation since he was young and had worked in a special department. Zhang Huchen was a big boss in both the underworld and the underworld in Yanjin. You called me Jiang Tian? You're giving me too much face. Didn't you always call me son of a bitch before? When Jiang Tian thought of his cousin, he was annoyed and his eyes suddenly turned cold. Chapter 5:12. With a thud, he lifted his foot and broke Zhang Qingji's other leg. The Zhang family had always hated Zhang Wanqing and Jiang Zhixing for marrying each other and ruining the family's reputation. When the two got married, they didn't send anyone to attend and even forbade Jiang Zhixing's family from visiting for a long time. It wasn't until the Spring Festival when Jiang Tian was 8 years old that the Zhang family finally showed mercy and allowed Jiang Zhixing's family to visit Yanjing. Perhaps because of the teachings of his parents, Zhang Huchen looked down on Jiang Tian and called him a country bumpkin and a son of a bitch. Jiang Tian was so angry that he fought with them. At that time, Zhang Huchen was already in his teens. He was tall and strong like a calf and was also a fan of school bullying. He knocked Jiang Tian to the ground in no time and beat Jiang Tian until he was covered in bruises. A group of children even undid their pants and peed on him. When Zhang Jinghua and his wife found out about it, they didn't care about the reason at all. Instead, they scolded Jiang Tian for apologizing to his cousins. Even after 10,000 years, Jiang Tian still remembered standing alone in the living room, covered in bruises and dirt, being scolded and mocked by his uncles and aunts. They called him a country bumpkin and uneducated. They said that Jiang Tian was just joking and that he would definitely be useless in the future. Afraid of their parents' authority, Jiang Tian and his wife didn't dare to say anything. In the end, Jiang Tian could only bow his head and apologize to Zhang Huchen. When Jiang Tian apologized, Zhang Huchen smugly whispered into Jiang Tian's ear, "Jiang Tian, you're a son of a bitch. So what if I hit you? Don't you still have to bow your head and apologize to me? Hee, son of a bitch." After that, when Jiang Tian visited the Zhang family, Zhang Huchen always called Jiang Tian a son of a bitch behind his back. In fact, Zhang Huchen wasn't very smart and had the lowest status among the many children of the Zhang family. He couldn't be compared to Zhang Danfeng and Zhang Yue. Perhaps only by ruthlessly trampling on Jiang Tian, who was even more lowly in his eyes, could his abnormal vanity be satisfied. Even though 10,000 years had passed since then, Jiang Tian could still remember the unbridled mockery he had at that time. He could not forget that proud and arrogant smile on his face, and the malevolent and vicious look in his eyes when he waved his fists. "Fuck, are you done yet? Do you still want to kill people?" Seeing Jiang Tian attack again, Zhang Huchen's eyes turned cold. He quickly pulled out his gun and fired a shot at Jiang Tian. At this moment, everyone from the Zhang clan smiled proudly. "Ahu, you're not bad. You're fast enough with your spear and ruthless enough. That's good too. I'll just kill this little bastard and be done with it." Only Zhang Yilin was so scared that her face turned pale. She screamed and subconsciously covered her face, so she missed the wonderful scene. However, the smiles of the Zhang family members immediately froze on their faces. They could no longer smile and were replaced by deep fear. Surprisingly, Jiang Tian did not fall. Instead, he held a bullet in his hand. Clang. With a sound, Jiang Tian threw the bullet on the ground. Everyone was shocked to find that the bullet had been deformed and even left lines on the skin. Hiss. Suddenly, there was a sound of cold air being sucked in. Zhang Jinghua's heart thumped. His heart fell into the abyss, and his whole body emitted bursts of cold air. He knew that he was in big trouble today. This should be the legendary Wu Dao Grand Master. No wonder Jiang Tian could beat Uncle Fu. "Jiang Tian, brother Tian, don't do it. Let's talk nicely." Zhang Huchen was so scared that his forehead was covered with cold sweat. His face was as pale as paper. His hand holding the pistol trembled violently. He did not know whether to shoot or not. "Talk nicely. Come here." Jiang Tian waved his hand and the pistol flew uncontrollably into Jiang Tian's hand. Zhang Huchen was sent flying. He fell on the ground with a ouch. When he looked up, he saw the black muzzle pointing at his head. Zhang Huchen was so scared that his whole body trembled. He raised his hand and said with tears in his eyes, "Brother Tian, let's talk nicely. Don't kill me. I have a few million in my account. Can I give it all to you? I know all the art schools in Yanjin. Do you want girls? I'll give you a dozen tonight. You want to buy your life with a few million? Your life is so cheap. You should use your money to buy yourself a coffin. It seems like you don't know how much money the Jiang family has." Jiang Tian pointed the muzzle at his head and laughed. It seemed that Zhang Huchen was no different from his previous life. He was still a marginal member and did not even know how much money the Jiang family had. "Grandpa, can I call you Grandpa Tian? How about I call you Great-Grandpa? Don't kill me. I'll do whatever you want." Zhang Huchen was so scared that he became a pile of mud and begged. Zhang Jinghua was so angry that he almost vomited blood. If you called him that, wouldn't Jiang Tian be his father? "Kneel down and sing Kunker for me." Jiang Tian pulled over a chair and sat down, casually saying. Zhang Huchen came in front of Jiang Tian and knelt down properly. Then, under the gaze of many Zhang family members, he began to sing with a long face and trembling voice. "Finally, you found a way to determine the winner. Come on, sing the climax." Jiang Tian poked his head impatiently with the gun. Zhang Huchen, the young master of the Zhang family, the new boss of the Crown Prince Hotel, licked his lips and skipped the beginning. He started to sing with his hoarse voice. "I was conquered by you just like that. You cut off all my escape routes. My heart is firm, my decision is muddled. I was conquered by you just like that. I drank the poison you hid. My plot is over. My love and hate are buried in the ground. It didn't feel good to have a gun pointed at his head. It was even worse to have to sing. Who was Zhang Huchen? He was the young master of the Zhang family. He was responsible for some of the Zhang family's shady businesses and controlled at least 2 billion in assets. Because of the Zhang family's power, all the famous bosses in the Yanjing underworld had to give Zhang Huchen some face. In the Crown Prince Entertainment Hotel, he was the spiritual godfather. Dozens of senior executives and hundreds of young thugs would always unconsciously imitate Zhang Huchen's walking posture and smoking style. Hundreds of young ladies, peripheral girls, social butterflies, and even some second-tier and third-tier female stars would revere Zhang Huchen as if he was a god. In order to sleep with young Master Zhang, they were willing to put on an imperial harem drama and beat each other up. It was a great honor. It was as if they had been flipped. But such a notorious young master of the Yanjing underworld had his head pointed at by Jiang Tian and sang, "Conquer." Such lyrics were given a special meaning in such a special environment. To Jiang Tian, it was the pleasure of stepping on the unshakable enemy of his previous life like an ant. But to Zhang Huchen, it was a deep humiliation. But Zhang Huchen wasn't an idiot like Jiang Tian thought. He positioned himself as a formidable figure and understood such a cowardly action as a man who knew when to yield and when to stand tall. Han Exeng could endure the humiliation of being under his crotch. The king of Yu, Go Jian, had once led Fu Chai's horse. This was called enduring hardships and hiding one's courage. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. A real man would live in humiliation for his ideals. It seemed that Dan Feng had already called for help, and Jiang Tian would be finished soon. At the end of the song, Jiang Tian clapped his hands and praised, "You sang pretty well." As expected of someone who works in the entertainment industry. There's a sense of desolation in your hoarse voice, and sadness in your heroic voice. You should be the legendary voice of alcohol and tobacco. In the entertainment industry, only Big Brother Li Zongxing, Big Sister Tian Zhen, Big Sister Yang Kuan, and a few others can control it. You might even be able to get a place in the Happy Boys. Come, let's sing for So Zhang. Except for Zhang Yilin who clapped twice, the others didn't move. Everyone glared at Jiang Tian and wanted to skin Jiang Tian alive. Killing people was just a matter of nodding, but Jiang Tian's behavior was unscrupulous and humiliating. It was like rubbing Zhang Huchen's face on the ground. Moreover, it wasn't just insulting him, it was insulting the Zhang family as well. Zhang Jinghua had already swallowed a few pills. Otherwise, he would have had a heart attack and gone to the hospital. At this time, a person who looked like a servant hurriedly walked in. He whispered in Zhang Jinghua's ear, "Master, Bai Lingfei is here. Do you want to let him in?" "Let him in. Let him in. Tell him that I've agreed to all the conditions," Zhang Jinghua said in a hurry. The servant turned and left. Zhang Jinghua was relieved. He suppressed his anger and snorted proudly, "Bastard! Zhang Yilin stole the family treasure. I don't have enough evidence, so I won't argue with you. What's wrong with me punishing Zhang Yilin according to the rules of our ancestors? But you attacked her repeatedly and even broke the door of the Zhang family's ancestral hall." He stared coldly at Jiang Tian and sneered, "You're right? Haha, I know you have some skills, but you can't afford to offend this man. He is Bai Lingfei from the Bai family of Yanjin, a transcendent master. I heard that he is at the peak of the transcendent state." "Really? Let him come and die." Jiang Tian didn't move and laughed arrogantly. Chapter 5:13. Your Zhang clan is truly ignorant. Do you know how popular the Bai clan's troops and consecrators are? Let me tell you, those secular families have offered hundreds of millions to hire them. At this moment, Zhang Zhonghua was nodding and bowing as he led the way. Bai Lingfei, who was dressed as a Taoist priest and wearing sunglasses, strutted into the Zhang family's house with an arrogant expression. Ever since the Bai family was destroyed, some members of the Bai family had left Hua Xia out of fear of Jiang Tian's power. But there were also some old people who chose to stay in Hua Xia. They were afraid of Jiang Tian's power, so they changed their names and became the Taoist priests of the secular families. After all, there were many of them, and they had changed their names to keep a low profile. Master Kong couldn't keep an eye on them all the time. Bai Lingfei had contacted the Zhang family before and asked for 5% of the Zhang group's shares. He would only do it 3 times a year. He was an ambitious person who wanted to cultivate and improve his strength. At first, Zhang Jinghua didn't agree and said that a small temple couldn't accommodate a big bodhisattva. But now, didn't he agree to all of it? Thinking of this, Bai Lingfei couldn't help but feel smug. Mr. Bai, you're right. It's a waste of your talent to invite you here as a Taoist priest. Zhang Zhonghua said with a fawning face. If it weren't for the fact that we already know each other, I wouldn't have bothered with your family at all. Bai Lingfei said arrogantly. Then he lowered his voice and warned with a face full of fear. But don't call me by my real name. Call me Taoist Lingfei. Otherwise, if Kong Teichu finds out, I'll die a horrible death. At that time, he had seen Jiang Tian kill 11 gods with his own eyes. His strength was too terrifying. Later, the 6 major families even stood on Jiang Tian's side and helped to suppress the remaining members of the Bai family. Kong Teichu was really not to be offended. I know. Zhang Zhonghua nodded and said fawningly, but the Zhang family is in trouble. A junior is causing trouble in the Zhang family and defeated Uncle Fu. You have to help this time. Junior? I think he's at most a transcendent state cultivator. It's nothing. This old man will slap him to death for you. Bai Lingfei snorted disdainfully. As she spoke, she walked into the hall. Then he approached Jiang Tian. Are you that madman? I'm Bai Lingfei. No, I'm Taoist Lingfei. Hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy. Jiang Tian was facing Zhang Jinghua with his back to the door. At first, Bai Lingfei could only see the back of Jiang Tian's figure. When she got closer, she could clearly see his face. Jiang? Bai Lingfei was scared out of his wits, and his expression changed drastically. This person looked a lot like Kong Teichu. At this moment, Jiang Tian had the appearance of the mortal world, but he was still 90% similar to the gung metal divine body. You want to die? Jiang Tian's divine sense blasted out. Bai Lingfei instantly began to bleed profusely. It sounded like a toad lying on the ground. At this moment he no longer had any doubts. This was Master Kong. Only Master Kang's divine sense could be so powerful. I didn't know the adjudicator was here. I've offended you. I'll take my leave now. Don't kill me, Bai Lingfei kowtowed to Jiang Tian again and again. His head was bleeding. Scram. Yes. Hearing this, Bai Lingfei felt as if he had been pardoned. His body swayed, and like a gust of wind, he smashed through the window and shot out. He ran away. The smiles of the Zhang family members who were about to greet Bai Lingfei immediately froze on their faces. They were completely dumbfounded. What's going on? Why did Bai Lingfei kneel down as soon as he saw him? Why did he run away? What's an adjudicator? They looked at Jiang Tian in shock and disbelief. For the first time, their anger turned into fear. Zhang Jinghua could no longer remain calm. It was as if he had met Jiang Tian for the first time. He looked at Jiang Tian with shock and confusion. Although he was shocked that Jiang Tian had become a martial arts master, he could still accept it. The poor studied while the rich practiced martial arts. As long as one had money, it was possible to send Jiang Tian to a famous master for a few years and use heavenly treasures to cultivate. But when Bai Lingfei saw Jiang Tian, he was so scared that he knelt down and kowtowed. Then he was so scared that he ran away like a stray dog. He felt a chill run down his spine and his clothes were soaked with cold sweat. His heart was gripped by fear and even beating was difficult. He felt suffocated. Zhang Jinghua, what other tricks do you have? Don't you want to cripple me? Hurry up, I'm waiting. Jiang Tian said coldly. Zhang Jinghua felt despair and even a little regret. What kind of demon did the Zhang family offend? He was a bit overwhelmed by Jiang Tian's power. He heaved a sigh and was about to lower his head and admit his mistake. But right at this moment, a guard dashed in and shouted excitedly, Patriarch, War Dragon's people are here. Good, 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 bring them here. Zhang Jinghua regained his confidence and looked at Zhang Zhonghua approvingly. Zhang Zhonghua felt his father's approval and was also proud. He sneered at Jiang Tian and said, "Little bastard, do you think that you can do whatever you want in Huaxia just because your family is rich? You are still far from it. Remember, this is not Jin City, not your family's territory. This is Yanjin." They were Zhanlong. Zhanlong's combat power had been rising and several of them had reached the transcendent state. They could be called grandmasters and were called Small Long Formation. Besides, Zhanlong had a solid military background. So what if Jiang Tian was a martial arts master? He was nothing compared to Zhanlong, who was an elite in the military. After that, he no longer paid any attention to Jiang Tian. He pulled himself together and quickly walked over with a face full of joy. "Captain Long, I'm sorry for the tardiness. Sorry for the disrespect. Your presence brings light to our Zhang family's humble dwelling." The captain of Zhanlong was a senior colonel, which was equivalent to a major general. However, after 3 to 5 years of service, he would be promoted to major general. He might even surpass Zhang Zhonghua in the future. How could he be disrespectful? "Captain Long, congratulations on your promotion, congratulations on your promotion. I have prepared a table of good wine at the Crown Prince Hotel tonight. Let's celebrate." Zhang Huchen also quickly stepped forward to greet him. He nodded and bowed, bowing and scraping like a subordinate meeting his superior. His expression was full of flattery. "Secretary Zhang, where is he? Take me to him." Violent Dragon shouted loudly like a thunderclap. He quickly walked into the living room with the other war dragons and saw Jiang Tian looking at him with a faint smile. He was instantly stunned and tongue-tied. Dumbfounded, he said, "Jiang, that's him." Zhang Zhonghua pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "He beat up my third brother. He committed a crime with a gun. My third brother used to be an important member of the Security Bureau. This man is a terrorist. We must bring him to justice." Jiang? Violent Dragon didn't expect to see Jiang Tian in Yanjin, and the terrorist that the Zhang family reported was Jiang Tian. He was so shocked that he couldn't bring himself to call him master. "Violent Dragon, you are the captain now. Do your best. It's just a family matter. It's not as serious as they said. You should leave now," Jiang Tian said lightly. Violent Dragon brought the Zhanlong to the Zhang family because of his duty, so Jiang Tian didn't need to be angry. "Oh, then we'll leave first? Don't you need help?" Violent Dragon said with a flattering smile. He originally looked rough and bold like a gorilla. When he smiled, his facial features were so close together that his eyes couldn't be seen. It was indescribably funny. But Violent Dragon's funny smile made the Zhang family feel a chill in their hearts. "What's there to help? I can't take care of them." Jiang Tian smiled. Violent Dragon was also a man with a sharp mind. "Then we'll leave first. If young Master Jiang has time, let's meet again." Violent Dragon nodded and turned around without hesitation. He waved his hand and walked out with a group of Zhanlong. Jiang Tian has told Tang Hongtu and Zhanlong more than once that he and Zhanlong's fate is over, and he has stepped down as Zhanlong's martial arts consultant, and he has nothing to do with the military, so don't call him chief consultant. So although he was full of reverence for Jiang Tian, he did not give a military salute and did not call him by this name. Moreover, he also saw that Jiang Tian didn't seem to want to expose the identity of Master Kong, so he didn't call him out on the spot. In fact, he almost cried out when he saw Jiang Tian. But Zhang Zhonghua's attitude towards Jiang Tian poured cold water on him and made him calm down reluctantly. Master Kong and the Zhang family broke out in conflict. They only need to throw out any of the identities of Yuan Zhanlong Martial Arts Chief Consultant, Jiangbei Master Kong, and Adjudicator Kong Teichu. Isn't that scaring the Zhang family to death? He didn't say it, obviously because he didn't want to reveal his identity. Thinking of this, he sweated on his forehead and rejoiced in his heart. If his loud voice was broken, wouldn't he offend Master Kong? How could he survive in Zhanlong in the future? At this time, seeing the Zhang family's pale and bewildered look, he had a glimmer of understanding in his heart. It seems that Master Kong is by long, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. It's the same as the Qing dynasty's Emperor Kangxi's private tour. If I disturb his mood, I will definitely be beaten to death by Tang Hongtu. Zhang Huchen saw this and was stunned. Then he grabbed T-Rex's arm and said flatteringly, "Captain Long, this Jiang Tian is just a little rich second generation in Jinling. If you deal with him, isn't it like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife? We even drank together a few times. How about I prepare a drink for you?" When T-Rex heard this, he broke out in a cold sweat. A slap landed on Zhang Huchen's face. "Captain Long." Zhang Huchen was sent flying. He even lost 2 of his teeth. He covered his face with his hands and was horrified. "You want to die, don't you? Laozi didn't like you for a long time. Drinking wine, my style is too rigid. Will I accept your roping and corruption? Who the fuck knows you?" T-Rex pointed at Zhang Huchen and shouted angrily, but his eyes secretly glanced at Jiang Tian. He was so scared that his legs went soft. "Master Kong, I'm innocent. I've drunk wine, but I've never drunk wine. I've always been very strict with myself." Chapter 5:14. Captain Dragon. Zhang Zhongguo was shocked. He wanted to persuade him to stay, but he didn't think it would be useful. Violent Dragon ignored him. He walked out and scolded angrily. "It's just a small family dispute and you call it a terrorist attack. Do you have any political awareness? Can you afford to be charged with lying about military intelligence and wasting military resources? Don't you want to be an officer? Captain Dragon, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding." Zhang Zhongguo's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. He felt like he had shot himself in the foot. Everyone in the Zhang family was shocked and broke out in cold sweat. They knew that even Zhan Long couldn't suppress Jiang Tian's identity. Zhang Jinghua's face was pale and his wrinkles became more obvious. He seemed to have aged 10 years in an instant. His hands trembled slightly and he said, "Jiangdan, I underestimated you. I'll let bygones be bygones. You can leave now." "Old Zhang, you finally have the patience to talk to me?" Jiang Tian sat calmly and took a cup of tea from Zhang Yilin. He took a sip and smiled. "I repeat, the Chalcedony talisman is 1,000 times better than your vitality talisman. Zhang Yilin has returned it to you. Mr. Jiang, since you have such great ability and connections, this old man also believes that the Chalcedony talisman should be real." Zhang Jinghua's words were polite, but there was a kind of coldness that kept people 1,000 miles away. "Well, since I've returned it 10 times, you're satisfied, but I'm not. Zhang Yilin can't suffer for nothing. Who hit her? Come out." Jiang Tian's cold eyes scanned the crowd. "Jianggan, don't kill me." Zhang Huchen's body trembled slightly. He walked out and begged pitifully. Another disciple hesitated for a moment and walked out with a sad face. "Good. You like to play with whips, right? I'll let you have your fun today. You two, whip each other until I'm satisfied." Jiang Tian sipped his tea and didn't even bother to lift his eyelids. Pa pa pa. At first, there was a deathly silence, and then the entire hall began to resound with the crisp sound of a whip hitting a body. These whips didn't just land on Zhang Huchen's body, but also on the faces and hearts of the Zhang clan members. Their faces alternated between red and white. Humiliation and fear intertwined, but in the end, there was more fear. Some people couldn't help but tremble and tremble. Some people were glad that they weren't Zhang Yilin's opponent. Otherwise, they would be the ones being beaten up now. "Hit him harder, did you not eat lunch?" Jiang Tian slowly finished the cup of tea, but he still didn't stop. Instead, he threw the teacup and shouted angrily. "It hurts so much." Roar. At this time, Zhang Huchen and that disciple's bodies were covered with whip marks and were already covered in blood. However, they still clenched their teeth and endured the pain as they whipped each other. Zhang Huchen's flesh was lacerated and his entire body was dripping with blood. After being whipped a dozen more times, he couldn't bear it any longer. He threw himself in front of Jiang Tian and said with tears and snot streaming down his face, "Jiang Dun, spare my life. Yilin, help me say something. After all, I'm your cousin. How can you bear to do this?" Seeing this scene, Zhang Yilin proudly raised her chin and ignored him. She was indescribably happy and even had a feeling of exaltation. In the past, Zhang Huchen bullied her and her father all day long. At this moment he was like an old dog lying in front of her, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. He probably wouldn't dare to bully her in the future. "Humph, how can you bear to hit Zhang Yilin? It's good enough that I didn't make you take off your clothes and kneel in the snow." Jiang Tian sneered. Although Zhang Yilin hated Zhang Huchen, she thought that she might not be able to leave the Zhang clan as Jiang Tian said in the future. She pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve and said, "Brother, let's forget it. He also knows that he's wrong." Jiang Tian waved his hand, pulled Zhang Yilin up and walked out of the hall. A cold and murderous voice pierced through the wind and snow, carrying with it an eerie chill as it came from afar. "Remember, I don't recognize your Zhang clan, but I recognize Yilin. She will always be my cousin. If you dare to touch Zhang Yilin, I'll destroy your whole clan." Hearing this, Zhang Jinghua sat down on the ground, his white hair trembling along with his body, as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. He sighed deeply and said, "Is the Zhang family going to be finished?" The ambulance had arrived long ago. But the medical staff only dared to come in now and rushed Zhang Qingji, Zhang Huchen and the other injured to the hospital. In the hall, there was silence. Zhang Jinghua's face was as calm as water, and he didn't speak for a long time. Zhang Zhonghua, who felt that he had lost face, slammed the table and shouted, "What the hell? He only knows a few tricks, and he's just a boorish man. How dare he come to the Zhang clan and act so atrociously? He has no respect for his elders, is lawless and deranged. I really don't know how Wanqing taught him. Yes, he's too presumptuous." Zhang Qinggong also said angrily, "Does he really think that no one in Huaxia can control him? Don't forget, there's still the martial arts ruling clan in Yanjing and Kong Teichu. Yes, he beat up third brother like that. He's too ruthless. We punished Zhang Yilin, but he didn't do anything." First Aunt, who had a bit of a noble aura, was even more furious. She fanned the flames and said, "This is clearly a slap to our old master's face. Our family is unfortunate. First there was Wanqing, and now there's Jiang Tian, the ungrateful little bastard, who beat up third brother and Huchen. My heart aches." Su Shulan also slapped her thigh, tears streaming down her face. Then she sniffed and said fiercely, "When we found out that little slut Wanqing was pregnant before marriage, we shouldn't have shown her any mercy. We should have tied her up, scraped this troublemaker, and aborted her. Even if she was born, we shouldn't have raised her. We should have drowned her in a bucket of urine. Otherwise, how could there be such a disaster today?" When they accused Jiang Tian of being ruthless and disregarding his reputation, they completely forgot that they had kicked Jiang Tian's family out of the house. For more than 10 years, they didn't even acknowledge Zhang Wanqing, their daughter, and Jiang Tian, their grandson. They also forgot that when the Jiang family was besieged by the Nye family and the other two families in Jinling, they stood by and watched the show coldly. Fourth brother even wanted to help the Jiang family, but they punished him severely and removed him from all his positions. They also forgot that just a few hours ago, they also ignored family ties and wanted to beat Zhang Yilin to death. They even ignored the order they gave to Jiang Tian to cripple Jiang Tian when he came to save her. Zhang Jinghua took a deep breath and looked at Zhang Danfeng. "Danfeng, the future of the Zhang family will be in your hands. What do you think of this matter?" The Jiang family has been developing well these years. Jiang Tian has become a martial arts master and can suppress by Lingfei and Zhanlong. This is even more important. Zhang Danfeng frowned and thought for a while. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he said, "I think we should use the Jiang family first and weaken them second." "Use them? Weaken them? What do you mean?" Everyone was deep in thought and Zhang Yue asked curiously. "Use their wealth and resources to establish a relationship with Kong Teichu and the 6 major families in Yanjin. After that, we'll attack or even eliminate the Jiang family directly." After hearing Zhang Danfeng's words, everyone's eyes brightened and Zhang Yue felt a chill down her spine. What a ruthless method. But how will they be used? Zhang Qinggong asked. The generation of the Zhang family was the founding father of the country. You used to work in the Central Advisory Committee as an assistant of the central government. My father is still young and he has a chance to become the leader of the central government. How can the Jiang family compare to the Zhang family? Zhang Danfeng was like a wise Mr. Zhuge as he spoke tirelessly. We'll lower our stance and invite Zhang Wanqing to Yanjin and introduce political resources to them. Then we'll use family ties to persuade them and they won't be able to refuse. We'll use the opportunity to make them pay and cut off their relationship with Kong Teichu and the 6 major families. Then we'll use the 6 major families to eliminate the Jiang family. Yes, that makes sense. Everyone nodded. Jiang Tian is a martial artist, but how can he be a match for the 6 major families, especially Kong Teichu? Kong Teichu doesn't even need to do anything. We might not be able to invite him, but the 6 major families are enough to scare the Jiang family to death. Zhang Jinghua glanced at Zhang Qinggong and said, "Second brother, your intelligence work is not good. You didn't even know that Jiang Tian practiced martial arts. You made us suffer a great loss. Now that there's a conflict, it will be difficult to carry out the next step of our work." Zhang Qinggong blushed but couldn't refute. Zhang Danfeng said, "Grandpa, don't worry. In fact, this conflict can be resolved easily. We'll use 4th uncle." "Yes, it seems that we'll have to use 4th brother." Zhang Jinghua nodded and said, "4th brother and Wanqing have a good relationship with that little bastard Jiang Tian. If he takes action, it'll be twice the result with half the effort. However, after we weaken the Jiang family, we'll expel him from the family. Danfeng, after the meeting, go and do this immediately." "Yes." Zhang Danfeng agreed. Zhang Jinghua continued, "Also, Danfeng, you know Chen Zifan, Qin Zongheng and the other young masters. It seems that the spirit recuperation talisman is real. Think about it and see who is more suitable to give it to. Without their referrals, we wouldn't have been able to join Kong Teichu's circle." "Yes," Zhang Danfeng replied. Zhang Yue and the other disciples of the same generation looked at Zhang Danfeng with envy. The fact that the old man had given him a few tasks showed that he was approved of him. Before you become friends with the top families in Yanjin, you must not fall out with Jiang Tian. You have to be nicer in the future. Even if you have to squeeze out a smile. Zhang Jinghua glanced at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."